Yo, what's good? What's poppin'? What it is, what it ain't, what it could be, what it should be, what it would be. Cam Newton, the son, Mr. Booger, they all here with another episode of Funky Friday. And I really do promise to give good content for the masses, but most of all, I promise to always keep it funky. Hence, the show, Funky Friday. Now, this particular individual, my next guest, really intrigued me from afar. I've seen him on multiple different platforms. I've seen him in different elements where the words that he spoke of were so empowering, and I just appreciated the wisdom. So when I reached out to him, contrary to, my religious beliefs and his religious beliefs, I said, man, you know what, that'd be a dope conversation. This particular person is a student minister of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He's an author, an activist, a mentor, an entrepreneur. And I present to some and introduce to others, Brother Nuri Muhammad.
Oh, man. Brother Cam, it's an honor to share space and time with you, my brother.
Yes, sir. Man, like I said, bro, I've seen so many clips of you, and you have this energy, this realm about you that's just like, man, he's just a book of knowledge, you know what I mean?
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Getting right into it, there was a quote on your website that I read in preparation of this, and I want to let this quote guide our conversation, right? And you said, the greatest gift that God has given man is life itself. Yet, the second greatest gift after life itself is guidance. What do you mean by that?
It's like if you have an automobile and you don't have the owner's manual, or you have a tool or a piece of equipment, but you don't know how to operate it, then you can't get the maximum effect from it, nor can you use it for what it's good for. Well, so it is with life, The owner's manual for life has always been divine guidance that he has sent through his messengers and servants. Right. There's a verse in the Bible, in Malachi 3:6, God talking, I am the Lord, I changeth not. That means that God has a methodology and a pattern that is consistent. Anytime you look in history, when the people are in a mess, he raises a messenger. When the people have problems, a prophet is risen. Whenever there's a crisis, then Christ is. Whenever people war with themselves, war with each other, then a warner comes. So that's the methodology that God always uses. He never leaves the people without divine guidance, because life itself is a gift, but life really without guidance is death in disguise. So I am a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as you said, and we believe that that kind of guidance that came 4,000 and 5,000 and 2,000 years ago came to us with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and is present today with the minister, and they are teaching that guidance, giving us that guidance to get the best use out of this thing called life.
Yeah. Man, that's always intriguing to hear. It doesn't matter. I think the biggest misconception that I kind of want to attack throughout this conversation is there's so many misunderstandings. There's so many, well, this religion is this and that religion is that, so how can y'all coexist? There's so many similarities amongst us all, though.
Yes, that's right. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said like this, Brother Cam. He said that a true Christian is a true Muslim, and a true Muslim is a true Christian. The minister said that religion is not what you preach, it's what you practice. So there's a story that Jesus tells when he's arguing with the Pharisees, Sadducees about religious context, and they're considering him to be someone changing the law. He said, no, I am not changing, I'm fulfilling it. But he tells them a story about a father that had two sons. And one son said, I will do my father's will when my father is absent. And when his father left, he didn't do the will. The other one said, I'm not going to do my father's will. But when his father left, he did do the will. And Jesus asked them the question, which one did the will of the Father? It's the one that didn't say it, but actually did it. So unfortunately, most of the time, people are spiritual set tripping and engaged in religious gangbanging. They look down on the vice lords, the GDs, the four corner hustlers, the Crips and the Bloods, but then you get inside of religion and do the same thing. So we're in a condition right now with this world being really a sea of sin. that there was a story that I learned from the minister once about a Christian, Muslim, and Jew. There's a man drowning in the river, and the Christian comes with his rope to save the man. It was too short to save the man.
Right.
The Muslim comes, throws his rope out. It's too short to save the man. Then the Hebrew, he comes, throws his rope out too. It's too short to save. Now they got one or two options. Either they can sit on the bank of the river and argue over whose rope is the best, or they can use some common sense and tie all the ropes together and save the man. Right. We in that kind of state of condition right now. We got to tie the ropes together so we can save our suffering people.
Yeah. How long have you been devoted to your religion?
I got introduced to the teachings when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
You know, and at that time, I was trying to come out the streets, and all I knew was church, go back to church. But as I was at church, I was participating. I didn't feel like it had the ability to give me the strength to resist the pull of the streets. Okay. Anybody that's ever hustled knows it's just as hard to stop selling as it is to stop using. Right. Because one's a fiend for the dope, the other one's a fiend for the money and what the money can do. Sure. So when I was struggling, my girlfriend at the time handed me A Message to the Black Man, 2 tapes by Minister Farrakhan, and told me, read this and listen to this. And I said, this is how I've been believing all of my life. And a few months later, I came in the Nation. A few weeks later, she came in the Nation. And then a year later, we got married and have been married now for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
We got married when we were 19 years old.
What?
19. She is the one that fished me into the Nation. She wasn't in yet, but she was studying.
But how does that happen, though? Because I think religion always are impacted by circumstances. And a lot of times, circumstances in life, this may be God getting your attention, trying to say, hey.
Yeah.
You know, but for your wife now to receive this message, explain that situation to me, please.
So her father was a sympathizer of the Nation. That's somebody that kind of comes to the events. He loved it from afar, but he always had all the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tapes in the home. And he took my wife and her brother to hear the minister every time he spoke around the country on big events. So they had really had the teachings put into their mind starting at the age of 4, but she stayed. They didn't come in the ranks. He didn't come in the ranks. But whenever she introduced me to the teachings, I came, and then she came, and by the grace of God, we got her father too. He ended up being a member of the Nation as well and joined. But that's what you said when you talked about circumstance. There's a verse again in the Bible that says all things work for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So wise people always want to see the hand of God on everything. Mm-hmm. And I remember, Brother Cam, when I was exposing I wasn't exposing it, but my children ended up going to a public school in high school. So they ran into the children of the hoodlums that I used to hang with and used to be one of them. Right. So they started telling my children stories about your father used to so forth. And my daughter came and said, Daddy, you used to so forth. Yes, ma'am. So forth. Yes, ma'am. She asked me, do you regret anything? Do you wish you could go back and do things different? I said, no, ma'am. She said, what do you mean? I said, because if you change anything, you change everything. And the only reason you should be bothered by whatever happened in the past is if you're not happy with where you are in the present or going in the future. So all of those circumstances, whatever they were, the good, the bad, and the ugly, put us where we are right now. And if we believe we're where we're supposed to be and believe we're going where we're supposed to go, then all those circumstances got us at this spot.
I think what's important to understand is real perspective, right? Brother Nuri, you've obviously lived a life prior to converting to the Nation. And I think not to harbor on that. It's very profound as you speak about, there's 2 situations, the dealer and the user. Right, the dealer, addicted to the money, the user addicted to the high.
Right.
But even for me and my transitions to different elements of my life, I came from something.
Right.
You know, what was that transition like for you at the age of 16? What was life like? I mean, obviously it's been extremely dominant from, your wife's standpoint and her father, but what about, for you? Were you raised in a religion? Were you converted from something else, or were you just...
I went to church. I went to church with my family. My mother and my grandparents on that side, they were brought up as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
But I never was a part of the hall. By the time I got to that age to even be introduced, my mother was not, and later ended up being again. But I was raised just like, a traditional black child. I ate pork chops and bacon and sausage and, and believed in all the foolishness that was paganism, clothed in Jesus' name, and didn't know no better. Right. But that's the same upbringing. And it was me, when I was in church, I did ask questions.
Right.
I didn't understand. And I wanted to know why.
Right.
How? How is a dragon knocking out stars with his tail? I mean, I don't understand that. How's a dragon spitting water out? How's a snake talking with no vocal cords? I wanted to know. Yeah. And of course, like probably you experienced when you were young in church, when you asked questions of the elders, the deacon, Sunday school teacher, at a certain point they said to you, look here, boy, don't you question God. Yeah. And I wasn't questioning God, I was questioning you, Sunday school teacher, deacon, preacher. But that kind of spirit turned me off by not being able to provide any evidence. I didn't want to have blind faith. Yeah. I wanted to have real faith. And I learned when I came in the nation that Jesus didn't say the same thing that my Sunday school teacher, deacon, and preacher, or my grandparents even said, right. Don't question God. That's not what the scripture says. Jesus said, ask, and it shall be given. Mm-hmm. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open. If you take the first letter of ask, seek, and knock, it still spells ask. So who said don't question God? Jesus said question. So I wanted answers. Hit that subscribe button. Back to the show. And I couldn't get those answers. They couldn't unpack it and give me a true how and a why. But when I came and got introduced to the teaching, I was able to learn the how and the why to all of the things that I thought I believed in a deeper way.
I think to anybody in religion, don't fall solely on the teachings of the messenger.
Yeah.
Right. You got to have your own journey for yourself. So much so that even for me with education, whether in my religion of Christianity and other things of knowledge of just business, mm-hmm. You got to follow things, not to, somebody telling you, man, do right by your money. But what does that mean?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, do this, don't do that. But even when you're reading the Bible, there's a lot of things that's taken out of context.
That's right. Right.
Just like anything else in life. So I would admonish anybody, no matter where you are in your life, to take that journey, and don't be afraid to take that journey alone.
And that's the proper way of doing it, because we've become lazy learners with a Google brain. We don't remember nothing no more. And every time we have a question, we just ask Siri. And talk to the phone, and they give us the answer. We get it, say it, and then lose it right after that. There's a verse in the Holy Quran that I always tell all the new soldiers that are coming, because the teachings are perfect, but the people are not. The program is perfect, but the people are not. So you're going to run into people that are not the perfect witnesses of what it is you say you believe in. So there's a verse in the Quran that tells and warns the believer, keep your duty to God the way it ought to be kept. Ought to be meaning you study the book yourself, and whatever the laws, the rules, the commandments, the way and the word says, you follow that. But don't look at what everybody else is doing. You follow what the book said. And I felt I was blessed to be able to see that early enough that I was always striving not to be led, but to be an example for those that were in the ranks with us. And, you know, by the grace of God, that formula worked for me, and it's been working for all the new soldiers coming in that follow it. Don't follow me. I'm imperfect. Don't follow him or her. They're imperfect. Follow that which is written, the ought to be, and you're going to be all right.
Yes, sir. Where are you originally from, Mr. Nuri?
Indianapolis, Indiana. The Nappy City.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I got some good friends from old nap time. Man. And, you know, so when you take that journey, how were you in Indianapolis, obviously, with this when you were 16 years old when that transition happened?
Yeah, when I first, you know, came into the nation, I was in high school.
Okay.
And all my years of high school, I had all D's and F's all through high school. I'm talking about from first grade all the way to junior in high school, D's and F's.
How you get?
Listen, Real Camp, I never read a book in school except for one book in the third grade, and it was the autobiography of Magic Johnson. And it was the thinnest one that you can get. It was one of them books that's on our way outside the library. It's that little bit, almost a magazine with a hardcover.
Yeah.
And every year, whenever I had to do reports, I did the same report, but my vocabulary advanced, so the report got longer and sounded different, but that's all I had ever read.
Right.
So, you know, as when I came into the nation and I learned that we, black people, were the original people on the planet. We're the fathers and mothers of all art, science, and civilization. Timbuktu, we built. Atlantis, we built. The Nile Valley civilization, that's ours. The last living wonder of the world right now is considered the Pyramid Giza. 451 feet tall, 451 feet deep, covers 13.5 acres of land made of 1 million stones of gold, marble, and granite. Each stone stacked up in the air, down on the earth, east to west, not even deviating a square inch. And we did that back then without Caterpillar or John Deere or bulldozer or crane. We had the power of our mind moving it. So when I learned that about self, I came to school my senior year with a whole new attitude. I said I would never allow them to put anything in front of me that I cannot master. So my senior year in high school, I only went to school Thursdays and Fridays. And for those, look, youngsters, don't follow this formula now. It won't work for you now. Don't do this. Because when I did this, I missed more days of school than I had been, but I would go Thursday, do a review for the test, take the test Friday, get to work for next week, and bring all of it back in Thursday when I came the next week. And I had a 4.0 GPA, straight A's, just from mindset change.
How was that even possible?
Well, it wasn't supposed to be possible, but they gave me all my work. They gave me my work, and by doing so, I was able to do it. Now, at the end of the year, I wasn't supposed to graduate. The principal brought me in and told me, you've missed more days than you've been, so you can't graduate. And it was a sister, and she told me this, and I said, yes, ma'am. Well, I mean, so you're saying you're going to give someone a diploma that got all D's, and they came every day? But you're not going to give me a diploma, and I guess because I didn't come every day,
right? But
I got straight A's. Which one learned the best? She said, you did. I said, so you do know that when they came up with these 1-hour classes and these 8-7 period, this was just a suggested system that would work universally, thought for everybody. So doing it is it's a suggestion. It's not a law, a rule. She said, well, that's the truancy rule. You can't do it. And she said, I'll tell you what, I'll take you to my assistant principal and see if he'll work something out. And she took me in and asked me questions about my faith, and I answered them, and he got offended and put me out the office. And I never went back to school again for the next 3 weeks. Went to the prom with my then girlfriend at the school that my principal's husband was a principal. And he told me my wife feels really bad about what she did. She wants to work something out. So I went back to the school, and they let me, graduate, gave me a diploma. I didn't get it for about 6 months. I had an empty little thing, and I had on somebody else's robe when I walked across the stage. But, that's the way it went. But it was a mindset shift. that came from studying and learning the teaching and learning the true knowledge of self that I got from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It gave me a whole new, different, I won't even call it confidence, it gave me Godfidence. So I moved out believing that if I am the originator, I'm a maker, I'm the owner, I'm the cream of the planet Earth, I'm a God of a universe, and nothing they're gonna put in front of me that I can't master. And by God's grace, we were able to do just that.
So prior to the transition, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do, did you identify as another name prior to?
I did. So my mother named me Damon, and my last name was Mobariki, which is my father. My father's from Iran.
Okay.
And I had never met my father. I met him once when I was 17 for a couple days, and then I didn't meet him again until I was 31 years of age. So whenever in the nation, we are striving to do a good work and get a good name. So one of the highest honors you can get is to be given a holy name. And the last name, Muhammad, is considered a holy name. In English, it means one that is worthy of praise and one that's praised much. Everybody wants a holy name. So when you see people that are so-and-so X, 2X, they are X, just like in mathematics, represents the unknown. And since our names are unknown because we don't know the exact place we came in our original people, we get an X. And of course, when you're taking a test, whenever you get the answer wrong, you put the X right on the left side. So when somebody's in the nation, their name is John Johnson, they'll be John X Johnson because it was wrong for them to accept their slave master's name. So we cross it out. And because, you're not with her no more, she's your ex-girlfriend or your ex-wife. You're not with him no more, he's your ex.
You're heavy now.
He's your ex-husband. So we're no longer connected to our enemy, so we're ex-slaves. We cross it out. So that I had an ex. I was 2X because I was the second Damon that was in that mosque. And I was teaching and working, and the minister told me that he had another name for me that he wanted me to wear. And he said, "Would you like it?" I said, "Yes, sir." Maybe a year went past, and he came to visit in Indianapolis and seen what we were doing. And his son, may God be pleased with him, Brother Joshua passed away. He was kind of like, he just always around making sure that his father was good in management and regulating affairs. Right. And he said something about a compliment to me, about me to his father, the minister. And said, "Dad, if it's okay, I want to know if I could put his number in your cell phone and put your number in his." And the minister was drinking coffee, and he said, "You can, but don't put that name in there. His name is Nuri. It means light. And God has blessed you to be a light everywhere that you have gone. And it is a good name that complements the name you already have, Muhammad, the light of Muhammad." And he has, prayed and said, "May Allah, God bless you to continue to shine that light on us." So that's how I got that name. And as of in 3 weeks to the date, it would have been 20 years ago exactly that I got the name Nuri.
Yeah. So I see this version, right, of yourself, and I see the version of me, right? Not to compare and contrast, but I got hair. It's feel like everybody in the nation, got nice line up, no facial hair. Like, where does that, educate me on the look.
Well, it's military. It's in the military. A lot of people, everybody that joins any branch of the military, their affairs are regulated and there's a uniformity that is produced. That's how they do for Satan's military. Well, we do that for God's military. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us the history of beards and hair and told us that the way of the modern man was to be shaved. You can't wear a mustache. We just don't wear beards. He called them germ catchers. That's what he called them, germ catchers.
So these?
Yeah, I mean, you're catching a few germs, not as many, but you talking about, you know, when you're getting all that, and you know, but the reality is, it's part of your submission to a code of ethics and conduct to be uniform, one, to be one. So that's what we do. And the history of beards, when you go back to it, the beard and the different cutting of beards came from the Olmecs, I mean, not the Olmecs, but the Vikings and the Anglo-Saxons, the Celts and the Nomads. These Caucasian tribes that were in the hills and caves of Europe, they're the ones that started all these different kind of beard styles. So the original people grew very little hair on their face. So it wasn't commonplace thousands of years ago. So it's just a discipline. It's the way of the modern man.
Yeah, but even, okay, so with the truth, and not to compare and contrast, but the truth of that I know in the Bible, like Jesus had long hair, right? What's the preaching of that?
Well, of course. I mean, some people see it where he says he had hair like lamb's wool, you know, feet like brass burned in the oven. There's nothing in there that says that he had the hair that was long. Of course, Samson was said to have had locks. So this is just a code of ethics that we follow. We don't trip though. You know, whether you bald head, dreadlocked, whether you got a beard, a goatee, a mustache, clean shaven, you are brothers. We brothers, period, regardless.
Yes, sir.
So we don't really get hung up on the outside of anyone. We thinking about the inside.
Yes, sir.
Whatever you got on the outside of your head is one thing. The real thing is what's on the inside of the head. So we don't get involved in tripping over that. Did he have? He may have. I don't know. He may have had that. But as time goes on, culture and civilization advances, and when that culture and civilization advances, depending upon that cycle of time and who's the one that's the forerunner for that culture, right, we believe that is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for this dispensation of time. So what he sets up as a code of ethics, we do it. And some people, they join, they have a hard time letting it go. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be with y'all, but I don't know if I can shave and cut my hair and so. And I always tell them, if you was on your job and they told you that, look, we have a raise for you. If you just cut your hair and shave, we'll give you a $13 an hour raise. You'll find that brother in the bathroom, with a butter knife, cut about that $13. So, we'll do it for money. There's some sports teams that you have to go to. They'll regulate your affairs, and they'll tell you none of the people on the team it's not a law. It's not a sin to have. Yeah. But because you are part of their system, they test you to see how committed and devoted you are. So it's a level of loyalty to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's code of ethics that causes us to hear that and obey that and operate in a military way, one, uniform.
But it's no denying that observing the Nation of Islam, it is almost militant and military-like. Even when you walked in you probably won't see it, but a lot of strong brothers accompanied you today.
Yes, sir.
And everybody has on a suit. Everybody, manicured, got all, the lookings, a lot of respect. And you feel the respect from black man to black man.
Thank you, sir.
And, with how does that come about? I was talking off camera about, you got this everywhere you go. Like, what if you just wanted to go grab a cup of coffee?
No, not everywhere. But
explain it.
So, there's a verse in the Bible again. Paul said, you can tell when man has grown from death into life because he loves the brotherhood. One of the things that you was blessed to experience was being on all of the teams that you've been on, growing up, playing football, and, you're the leader of the team. But that was your brotherhood. Right. And that camaraderie is what gave you a little extra strength sometime. Every day you showed up in the locker room, you may not have felt like it. stuff has happened in life that could have distracted you, bothered you, but your brothers. And what happens is the same way that we have a physical peripheral vision. So I might be looking at you, but I can still see Funky Fridays on the neon right there. There's a spiritual peripheral vision. So whenever you are operating in unity with your brothers, your mind starts to say without words, man, if they can do it, so can I. If they are all right, I should be all right. So it's that kind of brotherhood that does it. And we believe that brotherhood, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, just learning to become brothers is salvation. Your brother, you know the base word of brother is other? Your brother is your other self. So if you see your brother as your other self, you're going to look out for your other self the same way you look out for your first self. And that's the reason why we are the way that we are. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you have a bowl of bean soup and your brother has none, he has half of your bean soup. And we say that you're not a Muslim, you're not a righteous person until you love or want for your brother or your sister what you love and want for yourself. So that kind of spirit is what keeps us always in service to one another and in this brotherhood.
And just so we understand, and I think it's worth mentioning because strength and power, there's strength in numbers, right? As the Proverbs say, but at the same time, nobody's armed.
Right.
Are they?
No, we don't carry any weapons, not even a little pen knife, no weapons. I'll tell you this story. So the more guns you have, the less you feel like you need the God you believe in. I was talking to a brother, he asked me the same question. He said, you know what, I'm gonna tell you something. I was a sheriff for 30 years, and I'm gonna tell you something, brother. Guns have spirits. Not literally,
right.
But I said, what do you mean? He said, I always carried a weapon because that was my profession, whether I was on duty or off duty. He said, one day I was at a bar, and I had my side piece posted, and a brother walked past and bumped into me. And I looked up, I thought he was gonna say, excuse me. And he looked at me like, what? And I found myself reaching for my gun. And if it wasn't for the fact, he said, that the gun, when he stood up, had fell down his pants leg, he probably, out of reflex, would have shot his brother over just bumping into him. So we know that the stats say that 95% of all black men that are killed by another black man that either knew them or loved them at some point. So we are dying from friendly fire. And right now, Brother Cam, did you know that there's more black males born than there are black females? But by the time the two reach the age 18, black females are outnumbering black males 7-1. When you calculate incarceration and homicide, 7 black women for every 1 black man, yet more black males were born. All of this is happening because we don't know how to reach up into our mind for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We're reaching down for a weapon. That's the way conflicts are supposed to be resolved. If we have a disagreement, we're supposed to sit down. I reach up into my mind for what I'm thinking, I communicate it to you, you reach up into your mind and you communicate it, and we dialogue and work it out. But what happens in a world of miseducation where you haven't been taught nothing? Your reflex is to reach up. But if you reach up and if there's nothing in your mind, the next thing you're going to do is reach down for the weapon. So we don't carry any weapons. And that is the reason why. We believe that we don't have a gun, but we have a God. And if we are attacked, we are told, never be the aggressor. But if you are attacked, fight with those who fight with you. And that is our code of conduct. So thus far, we've been safe, secure, and able to navigate in this wilderness without having too many incidents or situations. And even people with guns, we've been able to help them regulate their affairs, get them to put the guns down, sit at a table, and broker a conversation to talk it out instead of shooting it out. That's the math we use.
It's such a profound kind of dialect that we have right now because this is empowering to me.
Yeah,
right?
To Allah.
And just understanding that I got children, and my fear for children is for them to pick up anything, let alone habits outside of like a gun, and they don't properly know how to do those things. So that's the fear. One of the things that, as you were talking, and there's an aesthetic that I obviously seen, and have observed over years of the nation, right?
Yes, sir.
Educate me on, I never see women around men in this aesthetic. Like if you were to come,
right,
you're not around a lot of women.
Yeah. Well, this is because they are the object of protection. So if I was around them, I'd be doing security for them. So we were taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that a nation can rise no higher than its woman. He said this, look at this, Brother Cam. He said, there's no such thing as a no good woman. Any no good woman was made that way by no good man. He said this, that the black woman, she's the second self of God. So we treat our women with that kind of high honor and respect, and then we don't ask them to be around us doing security. We are their protectors, and we are their objects of security. Now, our sisters, they have the same military training that we have. They know how to soldier. They know how to handle people. They know how to disarm. They know how to fight. They know how to hold posts. Everything we do, they do as well, but we don't put them out in the public to be in harm's way like that. If we're present, we're going to be the ones in harm's way. And really, that's what real men used to always do. They call it chivalry now, but it's, I mean, a real man always used to walk between the cars and his queen to make sure that if anything happened, I'm going to be the one. Yeah, we always open doors. You even see in the old movies, the man take off his jacket, lay it over a puddle just so she don't step in the puddle. I know you can't do it, but Cam, your jacket's just too nice. Yeah. But you maybe you can walk her around the puddle. But
pick her up.
Pick her up like you used to have to pick up them linebackers and stuff that used to be holding on to you. Yeah. We was talking about you in the car. I said, yeah. I said, Brother Cam, he would have. I said they would have him, but he would just carry them with them into the end zone.
A little tote package.
But that's the way we see it. The minister said this one day. He said, Mama is God in baby language. The first God that we met was Mother. She was the one, whenever we needed swaddling, we needed warmth, we needed changing, we needed food. We didn't cry out for Jehovah or the Lord. We cried out for Mama to come and give us the breast milk, change the diaper, and swaddle us. So Mama, woman, she's the object of protection, so we don't put them out like that. But they do function, they do operate, and they have the same training militarily that we have, and then some extra. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this, 75% of my work is with the woman. 75% of my work is with the woman.
How you get that percentage?
I don't know. God gave it to him, I guess. But, if a nation can rise no higher than its woman, and really, if you look around the world, civilization is never judged by the men, the money, or the military. Civilization is always judged by the women. You can go into any civilization and do a test on the intelligence, the morals, and the character of the women of that nation, and you can determine how strong or how weak that nation is.
Man, boy, you said, I'm sorry. Let me check myself. But brother, you said something. Because I've always said, you can ask my lady to this day, or any woman who knows me, had known me, gonna know me, knew me, whatever. I've always said, I judge a man by two things. The way his woman is without him being in presence, and his children.
Wow. That's deep. That's a good litmus test, Brother Cam.
It's like, I don't care how real you say you are. I don't care how rich you may think you are.
Yeah.
I judge you off two principles: how your children act,
Yeah.
how your children treat you without you being present. And also, how does your woman treat you?
Yeah.
Is she virtuous? Is she somebody that's out here that's a good representation of who?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Right? When you say, man, that's Cam girl, or hey, that's Cam's kids right there. And then you saying it in a way where it's not, them his kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he know they out here doing?
Yeah.
Those are the things that I try to make sure that those are the biggest investments in any man's life.
Yeah. And you're so accurate. This is what Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said 1,400 years ago. He said, the best among you is he who is kindest to his wife and his mother. Those were the standards. Why those two? Because mother is the one that brought you into the world and has you where you are. And wife is the one that's going to take you into the future even when you're gone. So these two, my wife and mother, are the two that you should be judged by to see whether or not that you should be worthy of respect. And I found out accidentally on purpose that you can measure the goodness and the greatness of a man by the size of the smile of the woman in his life's face. If the woman that he's with is not happy, that's a sign that that's not a good man. If he's a good man, her smile is always going to be big on her face, because when a man is in love with a woman, her needs and wants become his goals. Anything that she wants, she's always thinking. The minister said like this: love anticipates need. So when you really love somebody, you in love with somebody as a man, you're listening to what she likes. What does she want? And you're always trying to be there to manifest it. So if you have a woman, you see a man and woman, a couple together, and she's never happy, that's a bad testimony on part of that man. If he's a good man or a great man, she gonna have a good smile. I see you looking at your queen's smile right now in your head. Is she smiling, Brother Cam?
Yeah, she better be, you know what I'm saying? Hey, don't leave it hanging. Don't leave it hanging. But it's one of those things in these teachings that I really need help with, because in your religion of Islam, you can't have multiple
wives. Right.
When you hear the wives and the wife and the wife, the wives, those type of things are something that you just say to yourself is like, well, do you have multiple wives? Does the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, does he have multiple wives? And what's the procedures of those type of thinking? You know,
the Holy Quran, we don't have more than one wife. We don't have it in the nation.
Okay.
There's a verse in the Quran that says that you can have up to 4 wives, but one is best for you if you but knew. If you but knew. So we're taught to follow the best of the word. And if one is best for you, then that's what you should do. So we don't take on that position in the nation. And when you look back, something you said when we were talking about scripture, see, context helps you grasp content. You were saying about the conditions and taking things in context when you read scripture. So you're talking about a mandate that was being presented to a community that had warfare going on, and they were losing their men. The men were being decimated. This is a time period. You're talking about 1,400 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of available employment for men, let alone men and women. So then men were maintainers, protectors, providers, and women were primarily mother, wife, homemaker. So whenever men are dying and decimating, there was the minister used it like this, that there was a lesser, not evil, but a lesser wrong replacing what could have produced a greater wrong. No man for no women and no job, then you're setting up the stage for prostitution and something else. So at that time, those conditions were as such that they were permitted to have more than one wife. But it wasn't for playing around and having fun. It was for the stability of a civilization. Some people say, well, you know, the black man, look at what's happening with the black community. But we should be going after the conditions that have us decimating. Because technically, if we have more males born than females, we should be doing something about the homicide and something about the crime that we have in our communities that's causing these brothers to be gone. And we've seen it all through history that the downfall of too many men has been the upkeep of too many women. So we don't take on that posture in the nation as the soldiers in the nation. We don't do that. Now the messengers, the warners and prophets, you see about them. You look at Abraham, look at Solomon, look at David, look at Elijah, look at Elisha. Many of the messengers and prophets had more than one wife.
Correct.
That's because when God blesses a messenger, he doesn't just bless his mind, he also blesses his seed. So a child of a messenger of God is born with inherited preparation that puts them in a position where they can carry on the work of their father and grasp that work even better sometime than the one that's not connected to the blood and the mind. So that in that sense, they do. But we, the soldiers, we don't do that. We have one wife, and if you try to have more than one, then you can't stay among us in our community. That's our rules.
How would one go about getting Control Alt deleted up out of there? These are questions I need to know.
These are good questions.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like you said, Brother Cam, I seen you down at Chick-fil-A with your wife.
No, you wasn't at Chick-fil-A, was you?
Well, I wouldn't be there because I'm vegan. So, you know,
good.
Vegetarian specifically,
Yeah,
but they just ain't got the eggs right. So I gotta make sure my protein intake is still at an all-time high. And then, Brother Ken, we seen you the other day. It didn't look like your wife, but so we gonna have to. I'm gonna need our certification. How would that? And I don't want to make.
We have laws. We have something called the restrictive law.
Okay.
It's 16 laws. And of course, one of them is no fornication, no adultery, no lying, steal. It's laws. And if you're in violation of those laws, there is a penalty, but not like it is in the Islamic world in the East, because we are 400 years removed from the East, raised in the West, and we live in a world, an environment where wickedness is around you all the time and temptation is constantly persistent. So Master Father Muhammad, the teacher of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he came from Mecca to America, he gave us restrictive laws and he gave us a merciful application of discipline when it comes to violation of the law. So in the East, they'll cut your hand off. In the nation, you get caught stealing, you get 90 days out the mosque. In the East, you get caught committing fornication and adultery, you might get killed. You might get stoned or your head might be cut off. But here, you get caught, when in the nation, we give you 1 year out of the community. And we call it Class F. It's fire. And the fire is not designed to burn you, it's designed to purify you. So we give everybody that has a law infraction, we try to give them a study system to help them to really dig deep into why they fell victim to this law, so that when they come back stronger than they were before they left. But that's the way that we regulate the affairs of the community. Now, of course, you go in the Middle East and how you see people walking around like this.
You already know what they did.
Huh? And look, every time you see it, it's very discouraging to steal. So in the East, you can see gold, diamonds, money. People leave all the goods out. They go to pray, come back an hour later. Stuff's still there. I was in Dubai, and we were in Dubai, and they was telling us, food court in the big mall, look, no, just put your stuff over there, and then go find the food that you want. I said, if at the lines, it might take us 20, 30 minutes. He says, no problem. I'm looking around, you've got Gucci, Louis Vuitton bags, You got people shopping that bought all of that, sitting on a table for 15, 20 minutes, but nobody's touching nothing. Do you know that there's zero crime in Dubai? None.
Because they're chopping off hands.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the consequences are great. But in the East, they don't even have to regulate the affairs to that degree anymore because the dominant environment is righteous. It makes it easy. One of my partners that he ended up coaching basketball in Saudi Arabia from America, was an athlete, played professional ball. Right. You know the lifestyle that goes with professional ball. So he's used to that lifestyle. Yeah. He goes over there. I'm on a plane with him.
He got a nub?
No, no, but look, this is what he said to me. Look what he said. He said, man, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, listen to me. You know how I was here? He said, I didn't even think a lustful thought over there. He said, I never even thought about doing wrong over there. I said, you serious? He said, never even thought about it. He said, brother, it's something special about y'all environment that, I mean, I didn't even think about doing nothing wrong. So, you know, the minister said this, environment is stronger than heredity. And there's nothing that you can learn that's a habit that's stronger than heredity. Your genetic makeup, your DNA, environment has the ability to either arrest it, that's why they call it arrested development, or it can enhance it. So we are people, we are direct descendants of the originator of the heavens and the earth. We are born, created in the image and the likeness of God. That means that every time God looks at us, he sees himself. Our problem is when we look at ourselves, we don't see God. If we're in the image and likeness of God, everything that's true about God is true about us. We got God's genetic makeup, holy heredity, divine DNA, that's in us. But we live in a America where everything that God said thou shalt not do is promoted and permitted. So the environment that we live in, we're righteous by nature, but we become other than that by circumstance. Some people go to the East. They've been trained unrighteously, but as soon as they get dropped off in the East, as my brother was, he said, man, I felt pure. I felt clean. I never felt like this. I didn't want for nothing wrong. I didn't want to do nothing. I felt great. And he wasn't even studying. He just happened to be in the environment. Yeah.
I wouldn't be me if I don't ask the questions.
Go ahead,
Brother Nuri, because you said about fornication. What's the issue with not adultery? Because you know, what's the penalty for that?
It's considered what they call free love. See, when you look in the scripture, whether it's Bible or Holy Quran, there's gender-specific commands that are given to the male and the female, and there's a system of doing things. All through scripture, it teaches that you and I should not have access to any female, and a female should not have access to us without commitment. Our saying is that if he's not willing to get down on one knee for you, don't you open up two knees for him. So you should show commitment before you get access to this mother of civilization and this queen. And I'm going to say this, that if women would say no and make it a rule, I guarantee you there'll be a whole lot more holy matrimony and covenant connections and sacred unions going on. But right now, because our women have not been taught the value of themselves, if you really knew your value, sisters, I promise you, if you really knew your value, you would stop giving men discounts. If you really knew your value, you come off that clearance rack and get back behind the glass where the real valuable stuff is at. You know, when you go to a store, the clearance rack got stuff. You got a large hanger with a medium shirt and pants don't fit this outfit and stepped on stuff a few times. But whenever you behind the glass, we was getting my wife's ring serviced, and you know it at home when you do the jewelry cleaner, it tell you leave it in there for 30 seconds and take it out and rinse it with warm water. They have your stuff back there for 12, 15 minutes. Yeah. They want you to look around, is what it is. Yeah. So we was looking around, and there was a sign on there that said, we are only allowed to show you one of these in this glass at a time. And I asked him, I said, why is that? He said, because of how valuable they are, we don't want to take the risk of being distracted and somebody being able to have 2 or 3 and they take one and we don't realize that it happened. That's the same way that our women have to be. Just like the valuable ring or bracelet could only be looked at one item at a time, you should have in your mind as a woman that, look, if I'm the only one you looking at and considering right now. And if I'm not, then you know, I'm gonna have to move on. So that's the reason it is. This is not you know, a Nation of Islam thing. This is it's God's way. It's God's way, you know, and we're taught. It's in the scripture. The wisest man of the Bible, they called him Solomon. Yeah, Proverbs. Look what he said. He said, trust in God, or trust in the Lord with all your heart. And then do what? Lean not on thine what? Own understanding, but in all thine ways acknowledge him. Yeah. And he will direct your paths, plural, and show you the way. So you know, when you're leaning on something, you're looking for some support. Yeah. What God is saying is that our own understanding doesn't have the ability nor the authority to support us long term. So lean on his understanding. Right. So if he makes a rule, he has the reason why. We just have to study that reason why. Like we talked about backstage, when we was talking about your children, they want to know why. Because why power really fuels willpower. The more evidence you have on how good something is for you, the easier it is to participate in the good. Yeah. The more evidence you have about how bad something is for you, the easier it is for you to resist it.
For sure.
So that's the law and rule of the God, to protect the sanctity of our women and to protect the moral code of righteousness that gives us our power as men and keep our society jailed and real families being built. Yeah. Not just pop up here and there. You know, right now, 69% of all black children are raised in a single, impoverished black woman's home. 69%.
Is that what they call broken homes?
It is, if it can be, but you know, our women have had to cover down, and they've had to play the role of being mother and father. They've had to be the comfort, the consoler, the nurturer, but they also had to be maintainer, protector, and provider. And because the Lord of the Worlds has supported many women in that role, they've been able to do a good job at it. But it'd be much better if the man was there to do his part so she can be herself and 100% of herself. And so that a broken home is whenever you don't have what they call a nuclear family that is able to properly rear that child. Yeah. There's certain things that a man has to do to get the best out of his offspring, and there's certain things that mom has to do to get the best out of them. But when the two are working together, that kind of teamwork really does make the dream work. Yeah. Whenever they are working together to raise those children in the right way.
Man, and I'm gonna use this time, you know, for self-help and self-understanding. My father's a preacher.
Yes, sir.
I was raised in the church. And like I always say, I was raised to know what right from wrong was, but I always didn't do right. Right.
Well, we all in the same game.
You know, so it is. I was having a conversation with my father, a man who I have the utmost respect for, the most influential person in my life. I give him that respect.
Yes, beautiful.
And understanding this is, he serves so many different purposes of my life, you know. And as I think back to what he was teaching me, it made me who I am today. One of those conversations was the decisions about me reproducing, right? And I just flat out said, I was like, man, Pop, your temptation ain't my temptation. You don't know what it's like to go into this world and everybody know you.
Right.
You can go as Cam's father, but that temptation gonna hit different.
Right, right.
And I think as men, as women, as human beings, we always will say what we wouldn't do. but we never are in that situation
Right.
to see if we would do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense, good sense. This is a verse in the Quran that says this. It says that if God was to judge man for their sins, listen to this, there would be no soul left alive on the earth. So a lot of times we like to condemn people because they sin different than we do. But if everybody was to be judged, either we've done a big enough sin or enough of the other sins put together that we have justified and nullified our right to exist on God's planet.
Right.
That's what he says. So, the righteous among us are as filthy rags in the eyesight of God. So none of us are qualified to be judges. That's why Jesus told them, look, before you take the beam or the pole or the tree out of your brother's eye or mote out of your brother's eye, remove that beam from your own. Check yourself. And we are taught, we don't do condemnation. We don't go and attack people. We're taught, put a clean glass next to a dirty glass. Be a good example and let that manifest itself.
Yeah.
There is a different level of temptation, and we all are tried by different things. But ultimately, your test may not be my test, but it's still gonna have the same degree of challenge in it. And if I pass mine and you pass yours, we both get to go up to another grade with the God. So you dealing with somebody that grew up around somebody that had a parent that was an alcoholic. Maybe their test is not drinking.
Right.
You dealing with somebody else that is like yourself. You're not just a great athlete. You are, what you've been able to do on the football field is only a sign of what you're born to do in the world of thinking, planning, and leading our people.
Right.
God does not create hoopers. God does not create wide receivers and running backs. God, we are only manifesting greatness in these areas because these are the areas that have been open to us with the least amount of hindrance and suppression. Slave masters used to have this as a saying: nigga sing, nigga dance, nigga jump, or nigga die. Those are the 4 areas right now of human endeavor you see manifestation of greatness among black people, either singing, dancing, entertaining, or jumping, playing a sport, or dealing death, or are dead. Those are the only 4 areas that we are allowed to operate. So there's gatekeepers and monsters at all the doors of engineering and medicine and architecture. All the stuff that's nation building is challenging to get in that, but they always guide us into that. And because you think about what we are called when we come to watch a game of an athlete, a fan. The fan's an abbreviation for a fanatic. Fanaticism is like idol worship. So here you are, you who are who you are, you're handsome, you're strong, you're big, you're powerful, you have money, you're great at what you do. Naturally, it's going to be a whole lot of temptation that shows up. You don't have to go look for it. It's looking for you.
Yes, sir. And
that becomes a test. Can I say, you know what? I'm going to think with the big head and not the little head.
That's right.
I'm going to bring my passion under control. I'm getting ready to check myself. I'm going to discipline myself. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister said this: the best way to gain control over your lower desires is fasting. Fasting. Whenever you deny yourself of what is needed and necessary, such as food, for days at a time, if you can go without the necessary, the need, you definitely can say no to the wants. So it becomes easy when you can regulate the lawful things to you to regulate the unlawful things to you. So that's just a strategy. And you remember in the scripture when Jesus was dealing with the young boy that the disciples was having a hard time healing. He was trying to get the demons out of this little boy, the disciples were.
Yes, sir.
And whenever Jesus came, they couldn't do it. And he said, these kind go not except with prayer and fasting. Some scholars say that means because Jesus fasted, he could heal them. But technically, Jesus he wasn't a magician. He didn't run around just touching on people and just hocus pocus shazam, they're healed. You know, Jesus made 1,900 statements on 200 different subjects. He gave out 171 different commandments. He put his disciples on 41 missions and performed 40 miracles. And if you look at all 40 miracles, there's only 2 of them where he actually touched somebody. Really only one. Because the other one of them is whenever he touched a man on his eyes. He asked the man, he said, blind, how do you see men?
Right.
And the man said, I see men as trees. Well, if you're blind, you don't see men at all. So it wasn't something wrong with these 2 eyes, it was something wrong with his third eye. And it says in Scripture, Jesus put spittle on his eyes and then asked the man, now how do you see men? He said, I see men as they are. Spittle is the white foam that develops in your mouth whenever you're teaching, when you're speaking. So what he was saying was I gave him a word that opened up his third eye that made his other 2 eyes work properly.
Without touching him.
Without touching him. So in that sense, when you're saying prayer and fasting, some scholars say, well, the boy was able to be healed by Jesus because Jesus fasted. But the universal acceptance is Jesus taught him how to fast, and the boy cured himself. So whatever we're struggling with, fasting works. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this, fasting is a greater cure for our ills, both mental and physical, than all the pills of this world put into 1 bottle or 1 billion bottles. That's how powerful fasting is.
You know, it's crazy. When I first came in here, after I got changed, after preparation, I've been fasting until 5 o'clock. This is going on the last 35, 40 days. I've acknowledged that I got to change.
Yes, sir.
And the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I'm putting it in the universe.
Yes, sir.
For accountability.
Yep, that's good.
Right.
That's good.
And for the people who see this, hear this, I'm work in progress of shaping the way I think, shaping the way I eat, shaping the way I speak, and not using, words or profanity.
Yes, sir.
Like I said before, I could put it together, boy. Boy, I could put it. As Christian as I think and thought I was, I could put a curse word together that'll make your mama hurt.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And even with that, I know that I'm imperfect. And, my brother has always teased me with this. He said, Cam, boy, you the most disciplined person that I know. But boy, when some vagina come around you, boy, it swoop you up worse than crack in the 80s.
But he got a point, though. Mm-hmm. Look what he said. You're the most disciplined person that I know.
Right.
I remember, I don't know if you ever heard of Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. He wrote Think and Grow Rich, but he studied 500 people for 20-some years under Andrew Carnegie's funding and backing. And what he was doing, he was trying to study the habits of the leaders of all the different industries around the world. And when he studied these 500 most successful people in all fields of human endeavor, he found 16 things that were common among all of them. One of those things was what he called transmutation. That is the transfer of power from one area in life to another area in life. So when your brother says what he says, and we know from the outside looking in that you were born with a certain amount of talent, but it took work to hone that talent and get it to the level where it is. Mm-hmm. So it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of sacrifice. So transmutation says that whatever I was able to do in one area, all I got to do is bring the same mindset to this other area, and I can do it too. You remember whenever, I can't remember how long ago, remember the D League, they call it the G League now. For NBA, first started, that's developmental league. They was bringing the young soldiers through to get them prepared for the NBA. The first year or second year, Magic Johnson was their speaker. Listen to what he said. He said, I want to teach you brothers how to take the brain you built in basketball and use it for business.
Yes, Lord.
I don't think he's been invited back. but he should be there every time. Because all that is transmutation, is changing discipline. One of our impediments as a people is, number one, we celebrate athletics more than we do academics for our children. That's bad math. The other thing is we put our children in the sports, and so do white people. But white people put their children in sports to extract the principles from it. And we put our children in sports to become a professional at it. And whenever they go in and we go in, they too are in the little league. They too are in Pop Warner. They there. But because they're going in there to extract principles from it, if they don't make it to the NBA or the NFL, they take the sacrifice they learned, the discipline, the hard work, the working through fatigue, the teamwork, the categorization of personal life problems and still being able to perform a task, and they take that to their law firm or their insurance agency or their dental office, and they just take discipline over there with them and become great in that. But we got our mind wrapped up 100%. If I'm going to the league, I'm going to the league, I'm going to the league, I'm going to be in the NFL, I'm going to be, and if it don't happen, now you got a brother with a broken spirit. Right now, Brother Cam, there's 500,000 black boys playing high school basketball. Only 17,000 of them will actually make it to college to play basketball.
On a scholarship.
And on a scholarship. And out of them 17,000, only 44 of them will make it to the NBA. And out of the 44 that make it to the NBA, only 7 of them will get a starting position. And the average career of the one that did get a starting position is only 5 to 7 years. So there's 500,000 black boys competing for 7 full-time jobs that ain't gonna last for 7 years.
It's heavy.
I don't know, that's bass awkward. You ain't catch that.
Bass backwards.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
So we have to, what your brother's saying, he's telling you, but this is a universal message we all need to know.
No, for sure.
If you became proficient in any sport, you have a greater calling on your life, and you can take that discipline that you use and all the principles from it and go into anything and be a master of it. And if you find exactly, specifically what you're born to do, that's where happiness comes from.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to the minister. It was a lecture he was doing, Brother Cam, and I was sitting on the stage, and he said, I was looking up the definition of happiness. And then he said, not in the dictionary. I consulted myself. And I didn't say it out loud, but this is what I was thinking. Yeah, who in the hell is Webster anyway? I'd rather have a divine definition from the man of God than Webster. So I want to, look what he said. The minister said, happiness comes when you found your purpose for living and you are fulfilling that purpose. That soul then has an unspeakable joy. So real happiness don't come from filling full your pocket. It comes from fulfilling your purpose. And we live in a world right now where most people do what they're paid for, not necessarily what they're made for. So they don't have no real true happiness. You'll be happier doing what you love, making less money, than doing what you don't really want to do and be making a lot of money at it. That's the specific purpose. So whatever, you know, LeBron, I love it. More than an athlete. More than an athlete. When they came out with that shut up and dribble statement, more than an athlete. See, that kind of mentality, he's saying that I know that whatever I've been able to do to become a master of this craft called basketball, I can take the same principles and bring it to anything else I want to do in life, and I can be a master at that too. Yeah. You can do that too, bro, Cam.
Man, I'm trying.
You're born for it.
Lord Jesus.
You're born for it.
Man, the thing about me is I don't do what I don't like. I never partake in alcohol. Never smoked weed a day of my life. Never did no pills, no none of that. I partook of wine, and that's just something to do. But it's like, what tempt me is certain things that now thinking in ways of how can I divert my focus to something that's really going to impact me. And I like to tell you, Brother Nuri, if I would have told somebody in January I'm going to lose 30 pounds, somebody would have been like, nah, man, you can't lose that. Like, look at you, you are. But I did, though.
Wow.
Am I lying?
You looking good, bro, Cam. You doing.
No.
But that's you transferred discipline. You should have been. You might as well did Ramadan with us if you didn't eat nothing until 5.
No, for sure.
Because just add a couple more hours to it, we could have been breaking fast, man, together.
You know what I'm saying? But you just don't know.
But
I say all that to say, for me, after I stepped on that scale, and I said, man, I ain't seen 245 in years, right? I got up at as much as 280. And I said to myself, now what? Then there was so much warfare mentally for me personally that the people who I was appointing as counselors in my life were speaking, something got to change. Something got to change. So I'm saying to myself, it's like, all right, what's affecting, or what's the root of things being affected?
Man.
It's your tongue.
Wow.
I said, well, if that be the case, if I was able to wake up multiple days, and my joy was, man, I'm waking up every day, 5 a.m., no excuses. I'm gonna at least get one in every single day. At least one. I done got up to 3 in one day, just locked in, focused. And I said that when I stepped on that scale, I said, man, I did it, but what did I do? Is that really a challenge for me? Working out, that's not really a challenge for me, because that comes easy. Yeah. What's hard is control your tongue.
Yeah.
That's more of a thing that would challenge you. And then obviously for me, man, I just want to do right by people.
Yes, sir.
Even if they don't do right by me.
Right. That's right. Well, that's, when you do that, you are activating the God.
Yes, sir.
To bless you in another way other than where you sow. He's the Lord of all the worlds. You don't have to reap where you sow. You can sow in this person and maybe not reap nothing from that person, but there's a verse in the Quran that says this, that no good deed goes without its just reward. Even if it be the weight of an atom or smaller thereof, in a rock put in the center of the earth, everything goes with its just reward. So there's nothing that we do of good that even if the person we do the good for doesn't reciprocate, God is the governor of the law of reciprocity. He's going to look out for you. And I was telling something you were saying about words. I was telling a brother the other day, he said, he's a preacher. He was telling me, say what you mean. Just say what you mean. I said, he was telling some young brothers, say what you mean. And I said to him, I said, it's better to not say what you mean, but say what you want. Didn't it say in the scripture that the power of life and death is in the tongue? Speak those things which are not as if though they are. Look at this. Paul said, let the one that is sick say that they are well. And let the one that is hurting say that they are not hurting. So this is, the God wouldn't tell us to say something opposite of the condition that we're in unless our words are powerful enough to actually alter it. Words are so powerful that it was the force that the Lord of the world used to bring everything that we see into existence. Look at the Bible. God said, let there be light. He didn't think and wish, he spoke it into existence. And God said, let the stars adorn the heaven. And God said, let the firmament cover the earth. Then when it gets to this thing called man, the greatest aspect of creation, God said, let us make man. In the Holy Quran, it says, same thing, a little different. It says that when God or Allah deems a thing, he simply says to it, be, and it is. So words don't just describe reality. Words, by the law of substitution, have the ability to create a reality. So don't say what you mean. Say what you want, because you can speak those things into existence. If you follow your words up with the works, it'll manifest itself. And James the apostle said that the tongue is a small member of the part, but just like a little udder on a ship can just turn a little bit and make the whole ship guide. So it is with the tongue. The use of the tongue in the wrong way can make our life go the wrong direction. The use of our tongue in the right way can make our life go the right direction. And what you're doing, Brother Cam, I hope that I'm gonna accept the challenge with you, because you know, I cuss sometime too, but I'm accepting that challenge. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad called cussing baby language. Baby language. So I'm like, yeah, I'm grown. I'm not using no baby language. So I'm a ride out with you. Today's my last day of some dams and hells. After this, I'm going clean with you, Brother Cam.
You're my accountability partner.
But this is the other thing. By you putting it in the atmosphere and me and you together, I found this out. It's a little trick that I learned accidentally on purpose again. Give up goals, share with everybody. But go up goals, keep them to yourself. When you're trying to become something greater or get to a certain level, you don't want to tell everybody about that. Because one of the worst things you could ever do is share a big idea with a small-minded person. Because soon as you do, they're going to try to talk you out of or make you think it's so hard. So go up goals, keep them to yourself so you don't activate envy and jealousy or the misery loves company doubt that they put in. But give up goals, put them on blast, because now everybody's looking. And now you're saying, I got some motivation that's in my mind, but I also got some motivation. I can't take them asking me.
Yeah.
How's you coming with that cussing thing?
Yeah.
How and you don't want to be the one to say,
I received that.
I haven't. So, but you want to be the one to say
Man,
it.
I've been telling everybody, bro. I've been because I'm a person that believes in accountability. My father instilled that in me early. You know,
God got you on a great journey, Brother Cam, and you're setting such a good example for us by being one that has made it to the pinnacle of success in that athletic arena. And still, see, most of the people that leave that, they lose their health. Mm-hmm. Meaning what? The only reason that they even trained,
was because
ate right, is because you wanted to play football.
For sure.
But life is bigger than football.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, this body, the scripture says, is the temple of God. And anyone that defiled the temple shall be destroyed. So we should treat this body like the temple of God, not like a trash can, like a temple. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, we will make ourselves fitting vessels that the Spirit of God can live in us and move in us and be able to help us carry out our goals, dreams, and aspirations and bring His will into existence.
Absolutely. When did you know this was your calling?
I was speaking, they put me on a rostrum. I was 17 years old. I only had been in the nation 3 months. But what I was bothered by, when I started reading and studying the teachings, I asked my mother, I said, Mom, why didn't you teach me this stuff? Mm-hmm. She said, what are you talking about? I didn't know none of that stuff. What are you talking about? I said, you didn't ever buy no final call, not even a bean pie, nothing? She said, no, I didn't. But I was playing catch up. So I used to study 8 to 10 hours a day, even when I was in school. All day, all into the night, just constantly studying, quizzing myself, studying, every day, 7 days a week. And so when I started talking in the study groups, I guess my answers had some substance, so everybody kept saying he needs to be on the rostrum.
What can you educate me? They said rostrum?
Rostrum, yeah, podium, you know, a podium, rostrum, a podium, just speaking from the podium. So our study group is a circle.
Okay.
We do these at least every Friday. And it's what you're doing right now. See, what you're engaged in is self-examination, self-analysis, and self-correction. So we have 21 study guides that were put together from the minister on various different aspects of life and different emotional issues and impediments that we have inside of self and how to navigate through them, scriptures and support for. So we get in circles and talk about whatever the subject is. So my comments, I guess, had some substance. They said he needs to be in the ministry speaking. Yeah. So that time, I was 3 months in. The brother that was the minister there told me, he said, it was a Wednesday, smaller meeting. He said, I need you to go open up. I said, open up? I said, Well, he didn't say it. He had somebody else ask me. I said, open up. I said, I'm not feeling good. I was feeling fine till they asked me to speak.
Yeah.
As soon as they asked me to speak, I immediately started feeling sick.
Yeah.
So Sunday came, big day, main day. The minister comes to me, pulls me into the office. He said, rumor has it that you were scared to speak. You know you can't tell no black man he's scared. I was like, no, sir, I wasn't scared. I just wasn't feeling good. He said, well, how are you feeling today? I'm fine, sir. He said, well, good, you own in 5 minutes. I said, well, wait a minute. He said, no, you own in 5 minutes. And I went and I spoke, and everybody was standing, clapping. I really thought that they was just being supportive. But when I was up there on the rostrum, when I was speaking, I heard a loud voice in my mind, and it said, this is what you're born to do. When I got off the rostrum, though, I said, I ain't never going back up there, because I'm not sure if that was God or Gino talking. I don't know who that was in my head talking. Yeah. And I said I wasn't going to go back. Wednesday came, I did a whole lecture, and I ended up becoming an assistant minister at 17 years of age in high school, and the minister allowed me to be the student minister in Indianapolis when I was just turning 21. Just turning 21. And in 6 months, we tripled the ranks in 6 months of me being a student minister at a very young age. So it was that voice, and I did feel like that this is what I was born to do. And it's been my purpose.
You mind me asking, how old are you now?
I'm 50 years old now.
What?
Yes, sir. Yeah, 50.
No hair dye, no none of that.
Oh, well, you know, it's a little sauce here and there. You know
what I mean?
Got a little touch up here and there. You got
man, I'm looking at you.
I ain't got to the point where I got to do the whole kit. But,
yeah,
you know, I got to do the mustache here and there. But that's, you know, I've been striving to follow the How to Eat to Live program of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the How to Think to Live program.
You said How to Eat to Live?
How to Eat to Live. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has 2 books that he was given from Master Father Muhammad, teaching him, God showing him the diet that makes a God out of a man. And you know there's a diet for everything. Slaves have a diet. That's why we was fed pork, because they wanted us to have a food that gave us calories for energy that we could work. But inside of pig, there's microscopic maggots called trichina worms, millions of them. I'm saying in a skittle, the size of a skittle piece of pork has over 100,000 worms in it. These worms eat your digestive fluid. They climb up your spine, mess with your vertebrae, get into your brain. They start eating brain cells, sound and mental power. The pig is made of a cat, rat, and a dog. It's mixed all together. That's why when you go to the baseball games and you go to get with the thing in the little bun, it's called a hot what?
Dog.
A hot dog. And then you want it to taste right, you get the red stuff and you put it on it. It's called ketchup. So it's cat, rat, and dog, is what I'm trying to say. So they gave us that because they want us to be what? Physically have energy, but if it's sounding your mental power, you're getting dumber and dumber. So they trying to keep us. That was slave diet. Did you know that whenever you feed a stallion, you feed them different than when you feed a regular working horse? They're from the same kith and kin. The only thing that makes them different is the diet you feed them. Same with cockfighting, same with dogs. Even a bee. Do you know a queen bee was just a female bee, regular female bee in larva stage. They chose that this female bee is going to become the new queen. So the males start going out getting what's called royal jelly and feeding the larva royal jelly. Next thing you know, that queen bee grows 3 times the size of all the other bees, is much smarter than the other bees, stronger than the other bees, and lives longer than the other bees, simply off of diet. So How to Eat to Live was a diet that God revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that is really an age reversal diet. It's a disease preventing diet. It's that life and life more abundantly formula. So primarily we eat one meal a day. 1 meal a day, fast 3 days out of the month. Some of us eat 1 meal every other day. Some people eat 1 meal and fast 3 days. And then that's basically eating twice a week. That's how those long livers in the Bible that you read about lived. When you look at, from Adam to Noah, the life expectancy of man on average was 912 years. At that time, they were eating one time, fasting 3 days, eating again, and they did not eat any meat. Every herb-bearing seed was considered to them as food. So they ate twice a week and made it almost to 1,000. After the Noah, here's the flood coming now. Animal products is being consumed. They eat meat. It goes from Noah to Jesus. It gets cut down to 317. And then, of course, now look at us, barely making it to 70, because we got Chick-fil-A and Taco Hell and McDevils and Honda Murder King and Long John Killers. We got all this foolishness.
So let me ask you this, because I was going to ask it while you was talking about prevention of or just your diet. What's the longest that you've ever fasted for?
I've fasted for 21 days before.
No what?
No, nothing. Just drinking water and coffee for 21 days.
No milk in the coffee, just black?
Just cream and sugar. I tell you, put some cream and sugar.
Okay.
I didn't have it where it was cream and sugar with a little coffee. It was coffee with a little cream and sugar.
Yeah.
But, the minister recommended to us, just do 3-day fast. That's sufficient. Just do 3 days. And then if you want to do another one later on, do another 3. So in the nation, every month we do what's called a national fast, where everybody in the nation comes together the first weekend of every month. Our last meal is Thursday evening, and then our next meal is not till Sunday evening. And, of course, accountability partners, teamwork, making a dream work. It makes it easier when you got people doing it with you. And by doing so, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if you ate 1 meal a day and you did that little fast for them 3 days out of the month, that you would live to be about 140 years of age.
140?
Now, and keep in mind this, there's some people right now called the Hunzas in the Himalayas. I learned about them on accident because of the in Our Savior Has Arrived, which is one of the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He mentioned some people among the Himalayas that was living way up in age and having children way up in age. So the Hunza people, they barely eat anything. Some of them, they go on fast sometime for 60 days where they drinking just tea. But they don't eat no processed food, very, very little animal products at all. And they living and they producing, climbing mountains at 110, 111, 112, moving like regular people. They showed a video of one of them that was almost he was like a gymnast, strong, sane.
Yeah.
So, the body, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this body was built to live and last for 1,000 years.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it realistic for athletes? I remember, was it Akeem Olajuwon?
Mm-hmm.
And you see athletes like Kyrie Irving who are openly fasting.
Right.
And to say it doesn't impact performance, because it does, what would be some ramifications for training purposes for athletes?
Well, for Kyrie, it impacted him positive. He scored more points. And when he was I think the first year he announced Ramadan, that first game, he hit him for 41 while fasting.
Yeah.
So, it's a challenge. It's a discipline. It's to see whether or not you can tell your flesh that my mind and spirit is in control. I run this, or you gonna let flesh run you. So that's what it is. So, if the devotion comes, there's a saying of Prophet Muhammad. He uses this language. He said, during Ramadan, the gates of hell are closed and heaven is open, and the devils are caged in or chained up, and angels are released. And this don't literally mean up in the sky you can see some big gates open, and in hell you see chains and devils. But it's saying that in Ramadan, Allah, God, He's making doing good and being right easier, and making doing wrong and being wrong harder. Yeah. So this is a season, if you want to break not just the low desire lust habit, but any other habits. So they've been able to function. Hakeem Olajuwon, he was able to function. Abdul Rauf, he used to do Ramadan. Craig Hodges used to do Ramadan. It's several. It's football players.
Yeah, for sure.
Doing Ramadan, and linebackers that were doing Ramadan last year. So it's feasible. You just have to regulate your affairs and make sure you hydrate before and hydrate after. But it can be done.
A full fast for the nation is from what time to what time?
What we consider to be a fast, it has to be really no food at all for past 24 hours. That's considered 1 day of fasting if you get past that. 2 days is 48 hours, 72 hours. A lot of people call abstaining from certain things a fast for a certain amount of hours. So you have this new term out, intermittent fasting. That's what that is. You're just cutting out certain stuff for a certain amount of hours in a day and making your window of time to eat a certain time. Mm-hmm. But technically, our intermittent fasting is all the time. Mm. They have it. They popularize it now. They advertising the OMAD diet. It's an acronym: 1 meal a day. Mm. OMAD. But we've been on it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching us this since the 30s. 1 meal a day. So this has always been our system. So that's what we do.
I mean, there's obvious, intrigue of this particular way of life. Now, 1 meal a day don't mean pizza and certain things. Like, is there food enriched, or is there certain foods that you guys lean more in? Is the richness of, or?
A very good question, Brother Cam. See, you can't do real work on fake food. That's the bottom line. You cannot do real work on fake food. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to eat your meal, you should want that meal to be as healthy as possible so that it can provide you with the fuel you need to go into the next day and achieve the objectives that God has for you and that you have set out for yourself.
Like what?
So our primary diet, our staple is the navy bean soup. Mm. And it's a recipe that Master Father Muhammad gave that is the small navy bean and various different vegetables in it. Very inexpensive to make, but the bean soup, it in and of itself is a sufficient amount of meal for you. Mm. So that's one of our staples. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad recommended that you drink a pure glass of milk, pure milk. Now, they don't sell it like that. You have to get raw milk, and then you have to take the raw milk, and you have to boil it, then chill it, and then drink it. That'll be considered a pure glass of milk. And then, you have some that eat chicken, some that eat lamb, some that eat fish, some that eat beef, and that's your food. And we cook rice, but we cook it different. We cook some of the starch off of it. We brown it first. In raw form, put it in a skillet, a little oil, brown it, then add water to it. It cooks some of the starch off the rice. Okay. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't really like us eating rice, and How to Eat to Live, he said this: if you must eat rice, then do it like this.
But what would be the carbs that you would intake?
Whole wheat bread. See, if we was eating real whole wheat bread, mm-hmm. not this dwarfed wheat that's on the scene right now, real whole wheat bread would be your best option.
So something that is fulfilling.
Yeah, it's fulfilling, and it is healthy. So it's giving you the adequate raw material physically that you need to build your cells, to replenish your body, and to have the energy you need to move forward. I've trained for several marathons and ran marathons on 1 meal a day.
What?
1 meal a day, and my partner, he wasn't in the nation. And he always, every time we ran together. If I was a little tired, he'd be like, "I'm tired to tell you. You got to get a smoothie or something, man. Get you some oatmeal." Yeah. And I'm like, "No, sir." Every time he was running tired, it's that breakfast on you, boy, ain't it? And, as time went on, we ended up strengthening each other. And he ended up, we were out one day, but we were running a 21-mile run. Mm. And because we always was in this righteous competition with each other.
What religion was he?
He was a Christian.
Okay.
So he's saying, eat like this, do like this. And I'm saying, brother, this is the best way. So if I was fatigued, he would beat me up. And if he was, I would mess with him. Yeah. We on a 21-mile run, Brother Cam. We get to the 17-mile marker, and I'm hurting. I'm hurting bad. But I look over at him, and his back is straight. His stride is good. And he got such a good pace. I said, if he can do it, so can I. But really what I said, I'm not going to let no cognac nipping, black and mild smoking, cheeseburger eating Negro. He's not getting ready to beat me. If he can do it, I'm going to keep running.
Yes, sir.
We got to the end of the run, and we both fell out in the grass. We was laying in the grass, and he leaned over, and you won't believe what he had the audacity to say to me. He said, brother, I got to tell you something. I was hurting real bad at that 17-mile marker. But I looked over at you and your back was straight and your stride was good. You had such a good pace. I said, if he can do it, so can I.
With no food.
No food. But what point was is that we borrow strength from one another. That's what brotherhood does.
Yes, sir.
That's what having an accountability partner does. That's what unity does. It allows you to borrow strength from one another to help both of you all propel beyond what you could have done on your own. Yeah. So, you know, that, and I'm pleased to say that he did come in the nation. He joined the nation. His wife joined the nation, and his son is in the nation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever been to Mecca?
I have not been there yet. God willing, we'll go one day. Right now, the minister has advised us not to really do any international traveling right now with the climate of the world. Okay. You know, unfortunately, America is Satan's headquarters. And the number one thing that it exports is sin, wickedness, and wrongdoing all over the planet. So you're seeing now where around the world, people going to Cancun, going to the DR, going on vacation, but because they're from America, they're being kidnapped, some being hurt, some being killed, held for ransom, etc. So because of the climate that America has produced for people that come from America, they don't know that hey, hold on a minute. We not from there. We from the nation of Islam. Yes, sir. We don't. So we, for safety reasons, right now I haven't gone yet.
I always hear this strong pride of especially in the nation of black, your brother. Mm-hmm. Do you have any white friends?
I have a few associates, and we have white Muslims that are studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that are considered our brothers and our sisters.
But it's okay. So that is studying Muslim, but the Nation of Islam.
Oh, they study the nation. They study the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Okay.
Yeah, they study the teachings. They have their own study groups, their own meetings. They come to all of our national conventions, and they're doing good work. They're doing good work.
Are they in America?
Yeah, in America, and around other parts too, but they're in America. A nice amount of them. Mm. And it has been like that. Even in the 70s, there were white people, Caucasians, studying the teachings and that were considered Muslims. There's someone that wrote a book called The Message to the White Man. And it is a Caucasian that is taking the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and breaking it down into a way that would be, more digestible to his people, he thought. Right. So, yeah, the truth is truth. So we teach the truth to all. We need to know that where black came from and what black is. Because black's not a color. It's the essence from which all color comes from, so teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Even if you took a paint set and mixed them all together, all the colors, it'll turn black. Because it's the essence from which all color comes from. Black is original. So Bible says from one blood came all living beings, from one blood. Well, what blood could produce all? In the Mendelian law, he said this. He said, you can get recessive from dominant, but you cannot get dominant from recessive. Look at what he said was dominant. He said, brown skin, brown eyes is dominant. White skin, blue eyes, recessive. Black skin, brown eyes, dominant. So if you can get recessive from dominant, but not dominant from recessive, You can get white and all the other colors if black was first. But if white was first, you never would have the rest of these colors. So we are the original people on the planet, and we've been subliminally programmed to hate everything black. Do you know in the dictionary right now, there's 120 definitions for black, and almost all of them are negative. And there's 134 definitions for white, and almost all of them are positive. Think about it. Stock market crash, it was called Black Monday. Somebody framed somebody, you blackmailed them, right? Whenever you tell a small lie, it's a little white lie, but a big lie is a black lie. You having bad luck, you're behind the 8 ball. What color is it? It's black. And now, on the pool table, the white ball puts all the other balls into place. And if you play a game where you put money into it, the cue ball will come back, but none of the other balls will come back if you scratch. Why? Because the white ball is bigger than all the other balls on the table. The green felt is a symbol of the planet. And these are all the different nationalities. Subliminal programming that we put everybody in their place. We run everything. And you lose the game if you don't make that black ball go in last. That's last. Programming. Even in baked goods. Angel food cake is white cake with white icing, but devil food cake, chocolate cake with chocolate icing. So these are subtle, subliminal messages that program us to think negative about our own black self. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was teaching us and the minister, he has to lift us back up by feeding us not black hyperbole, but black facts to lift us. And there's a teacher that is considered one of the fathers of Western education. His name is Robert Collier. When education was going public, listen to what he said. He said that, remember, education is only 1/4 information. The other 3/4 is encouragement. And nothing encourages a child like teaching them about someone that looked like them that accomplished great feats in the past. So we've been through school. Black and white children start school the same way. They hold on to their mother's leg, get peeled off, have to cry, real timid, head down, moving slow. But notice that as both of them matriculate through 12 years of the public school system, I said it right, they going through. But look at what they're learning about. Black and white child are birth learning about white greatness. They learned about George Washington, a white man. Thomas Jefferson, a white man. Einstein, a white man. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Thales, Hypothetical, all these are white men. So that white child is learning about people that look like them that accomplished great feats in the past. So after 12 years, he walks out of school with his back straight, chest out, head held high, ready to conquer the world. But the little brother didn't learn about nobody that looked like him that accomplished great feats in the past. So when he walks out, he started with his head down. Now he leaves 12 years later with his head and his pants down because he never learned about people that look like him. So knowledge of self, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said is essential to learn. And knowledge of self produces love for self. And when you love yourself, you start doing for yourself. And if I know myself and I love myself and I'm doing for myself and you, my brother, my other self, then I'm going to treat my other self the same way. Guess what happens? All crime, all violence, all mistreatment, envy, jealousy, all the stuff that's plaguing our community, it disappears from knowledge of self and love of self.
What's your thoughts about Black History Month?
Well, it's a pretty little cheap pacifier that they've stuck in our mouth.
You agree with it or disagree with it?
I disagree with it in the sense of this. Here we are, the people with the longest history of anybody on the planet. Yet when it's time to remember us, we get the shortest month of the year. Think about that for a second. And notice that Black History Month in the educational system is never before slavery. It's always from the plantation to the present or the cotton field to the current. You never learned about Imhotep or Mansa Musa or the Nile Valley civilization or Timbuktu or the lost city of Atlantis. We don't learn anything about what we were before we were kidnapped and brought to America and westernized and Caucasianized. We don't learn about what we used to be before we were brought here. We learn about the accomplishments of a slave under the slave master, or about a freedom fighter or a revolutionary who either was killed or their movement was broke. So guess what happens to the mind if all we know about is plantation to the present? What happens is, if we look back and we see us as slaves living in mud huts, working from can't see morning, can't see night for free, dressed in burlap, then we start getting a little apartment, $10 an hour, couple jackets, and think we didn't really came somewhere. Next thing you know, we start talking about we started from the bottom, now we're here. But if we could really learn about ourselves, we would say we started from the top, and now we're way down here. So in that sense, Black history is a scam that has been offered to give us a pacifier. A pacifier, it looks like a nipple, might even feel like a nipple in the baby's mouth, but no milk is coming out of the pacifier. It's put in the mouth just to put somebody to sleep. And unfortunately, this Black history, the way it's been taught, has put us to sleep. McDonald's said, celebrating Black History 365. We shouldn't have needed McDonald's to say that. We should have said it ourselves. There's no other nation of people that have 1 month to talk about themselves. Every day is about themselves. So we shouldn't allow them to limit us to a 1 month, shortest month of the year, to learn about self. Every day should be Black History Month.
I said this before, but I draw a fence to who's the messenger of Black history. My children, they go to a pretty good school.
Yes, sir.
I take education extremely serious, especially the early development of education, as well as furthering their education as well. But I witnessed something that I said to myself, it's like, are they really getting the trueness of that?
Right.
Because at one particular point in time when you do some soul searching and you start saying yourself and you start asking those questions, it's like, hold on, where did we come from?
Yeah.
Hey, we living in Georgia,
See?
a slavery state.
That's right.
So if that person who's teaching you about something look like them,
come on,
and that's not to create divide. That's not to create, a bad guy, good guy. I just draw a fence sometimes when Black history is being taught by a person that is not Black.
Let me show you how, look at how the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put it. He said, any man that will not treat you right will never teach you right. They're not going, if there's an African proverb that says that if the lion hunter is the one that tells the story will always favor the hunter. So even when we learn this Black history, the reason you offended is because Black history, for the main course, is Martin Luther King Jr. You get you a side dish of Rosa Parks, maybe 3 tablespoons of Frederick Douglass, and maybe a shot glass of some Malcolm X. But you don't get any real history of us before we were in America made slaves. That's the impediment. So we have to start giving our children real homework. Do you know when you graduate from a college, whatever college that we graduate from, we call it our alma mater. Alma mater is German for other mother. So educational institutions are the other mother. So if the educational institution is the other mother, who's the primary teacher? It's the real mother. It's the real father. So we have an assignment to not rely on the school system or any place we deposit our children in to be their primary educator. No, we have to teach our own children. Frederick Douglass said this, that any child that only learns at school is an uneducated child. We have to teach our children ourselves. So give them homework, Brother Cam, and just incentivize it. Offer them some money, and you watch how serious they get. I'm telling you, I almost went broke. My daughter almost got me. She was wrestling with some issues, so I had some books I wanted her to study to help her get it, and it was summertime. I told her, for every book you read, I'm gonna quiz you on it, which means I had to read it too, and it's $100 per book. 3 weeks in, she had knocked down 4 books. I said, oh my God, summer vacation is 3 months. I think she did 14 books. And I'm talking about, took notes on all of them, and I quizzed her, and she learned it. So I came to her, I said, well, my word is bond, I gotta give you the money I promised you. And when I was gonna give her the money, but Cam, look what she said. She said, that's okay, Daddy. What I got from the books is way more valuable than the money. I still gave her some money, but my point is that we have to give our children real homework, and it shouldn't be the regurgitation of stuff that was sent home from school. It should be the stuff that we're putting in our baby's mind that they can take to school with them to have the right mindset to conquer the environment that we deposited them in.
How many children do you have?
3. I have 3 children. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that. Because transparently speaking, I've always been the parent that's the school's job to teach my children, right? Ignorantly enough. And I use my own truth sometimes to educate and empower, to not say that this is the right way. It's just to say that I'm flawed and to understand that I'm a work in progress. But when I hear you talk, one of those things that I think about is because by the time I get home, I want to be dead. Wow. By the time I get home, you know, I've provided all my life. I've provided all day and was a servant to so many people, being labeled the boss. Yeah. That means you're just the biggest servant. Yeah. And by the time I see my children, I don't got time, but I need to start making time.
Yeah. Well, this is, so, you know, we have a saying, men sharpen men like steel sharpen steel. So the minister said this. Now, to me, the Honorable Minister was far kind of, why is this man walking among us? Listen what he said. He said, I've never met another human being that was not my superior in some way. That means that everybody can teach everybody something. So I'm learning from you. There's things that you can tell me that I never seen it like that, and I could take it as a jewel and nugget to renegotiate my contract with my life. There might be some things I'm saying that you can help, you can take to use the same, do the same thing for. Right. But you had it right though, Brother Cam. It always has broke my heart to drive past a raggedy public school killing field and see parents pulling up in $100,000 vehicles, picking their children up from a raggedy miseducation institution. The number one investment of a real parent should not be their IRA, the 401k, stocks, bonds, real estate. The number one investment of a real parent should be in their children.
Yes, sir.
So if there's anything that's going to be determined for distribution of resources, it'd be better to pull up in a Camry at a good school that's teaching the children properly than to keep pulling up in these $100,000 automobiles, watching our children have a needle stuck in their brain and their spirit killed, their aspirations assassinated, and their dreams snatched. So now you have it. You can use them as reinforcement, yes, sir, but you become the primary enforcer of the wisdom, knowledge that you want them to learn.
I must ask this question, just with the state of the United States. How is the nation planning to organize over the next 4 years under the presidency?
Well, we have an agenda, a program that we run regardless to whoever is in office. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to do for self or suffer the consequences. So we're in America, but we try not to be of America. So our formula that we are appealing to our people to accept is to recognize that how long are we going to sit here holding our arms out, asking to be embraced by a system, a country, an institution, and a people before our arms get tired and we decide to put them down? I told a brother, I said, I was thinking about that. We standing up here holding our arms out, asking somebody to embrace us for 450 years. No embrace is coming. We still, the last hired, the first fired, we still got to work twice as hard to get half as much. Every chance that anybody gets, whether it's Democrat or Republican, it makes no difference. There's always some way that the first casualty is what's good for us. So we stand, your arms are going to get tired holding them out or working. Why not use them to build something for self? So unfortunately, the wrath of God is on America right now. America is under divine judgment. Historically speaking, whether it was Rome, Babylon, Egypt, Sodom and Gomorrah, a nation where everything goes will soon be gone. And this is a nation that is stolen land, built by stolen people. And neither of those people have ever gotten their justice for how they were treated. But God himself sees it. So if America doesn't make right their wrong and repent to God for what they've done and change and turn from their ways, then America's not going to exist. It's headed down, unfortunately. And I know, for us, we say, oh man, what's going to happen to us? Well, we already at the bottom right now. They lost $5 trillion in Dow Jones and NASDAQ since 2025 started. But our little bank account didn't get affected. We still got the same $38.40 we had in there before the NASDAQ went up. It didn't make no difference.
That PPP loan been
Come on now. So I say this to us. Don't get hurt to hear that God is going to give justice for the treatment of our ancestors and our abuse and injustice we've suffered. If America is falling and we already at the bottom, it's not a time to get sad, it's a time to get out the way and just let it hit. And then we can pick up the pieces and it can become maybe that promised land that we have earned and deserved since we built it anyway. Yeah. So America's in trouble.
What are some things that we can do we are not doing in the Black community?
The biggest thing is we have to be united. There's a scripture that says, train up a child in the way that they should go. And when they grow old, they will not depart from you. Right. So we are the only species on the planet. There's no other species on the planet, I don't care whether it's a bird, insect, or animal, that waits until that species becomes an adult to start thinking about adult responsibilities. Every bird, every animal, insect that's born, soon as they're born, they start getting cultivated into be the adult expression of themselves. We wait till somebody 18, 21 to start teaching them how to be a man, how to be a father and a husband, to somebody 18 and 21 to teach them how to be a mother and a wife. That's too late. That's one. Two, we have to unite with each other and start shopping with our brother before we shop with another. Do you know we had $1.3 trillion come through our hands the last 2 years as a nation? Out of 233 nations in the earth, 1.3 trillion makes us the 8th richest nation in the world. There's only 9 nations out of the 233 that have over $1 trillion, and we in that category. But we got all that money. Spain, they have 700 billion. They taking care of 47 million people like us with a 208,000 square landmass, with they own everything. Mexico got 637 billion. They taking care of 130 million people on 760,000 square miles. They own everything. We got more money than them, almost double. Same population as Spain, and we don't even own the shops in our own neighborhoods. So we got, I applaud our brothers and sisters that are saying, let's boycott. But yeah, it's good to boycott, but if you're going to boycott one white business and then everybody's just going to redirect their funds to go next door to his brother, how are you winning? So what has to happen is not just white boycott, but white boycott has to be attached to a black boycott. And that black boycott has to stay consistent for the rest of our existence. That is one of the things that you see all other nations of people do. They have patriotism. They are loyal to each other. A dollar stays in the Asian community 28 to 30 days before it leaves. Among the Jewish community, they keep it 17 to 21 days. Our Latino family keeps theirs for 14 days. A dollar remains in a black community 3 to 6 hours. So if you got direct deposit Friday morning,
You out of here.
come on now, you don't get off for 8 hours. By the time you got off,
It's already spent.
it's already gone to somebody else. So we have too much to be doing so little, and our unity is our greatest impediment. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that our unity is more powerful than an atomic or a nuclear bomb, and the minister said that our unity will solve 95% of our problems. Us being together as brothers and sisters. We didn't live in the era, Brother Cam, but you know, in the 50s and the 60s, and sometime in the 70s,
Right.
I was told that it was commonplace in all of our communities that we called each other brothers and sisters everywhere we went. Hey, brother, hey, sister. Do you know what happens when you keep calling each other brothers? We just talked about power of words now.
Yes, sir.
John 1:1 says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was God. God is force and power. The words have force and power. The Word was with God, and then the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. So if we keep calling each other brothers and sisters, it's only a matter of time before we actually become that. And if I'm your brother, then your daughter is my niece and my son is your nephew. So we treat everybody like family. And sometimes our sons and daughters can get a message better from the uncle than they can from the mother and the father, or the aunt than they can from the mother or the father.
Yeah.
That's why before we came to America, we had a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Not just a good father and a good mother. Not a good father, good mother, and a good school. A village. I mean, all hands is on deck.
Yeah.
It takes all of us to be able to do it. So if we return to some of those concepts like that, if we united, if we started putting family back at the center and the nucleus of our culture, and above all, we got to come out of her, my people. As Revelations 18:4 said, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins and her plagues. God wants to make us his people for him. We are his chosen people. However, melanin is not enough. You got to have morals. Color is not enough. You got to have character. And what is happening right now is we're being invited by this world into a lifestyle that is disqualifying us from the promise of God. So we got to get away from sin, evil, wrongdoing, get back together in unity with each other, be brothers and sisters. Now we are family. The whole village is helping to raise all the children, and we shopping with our brother before we shop with another. We do that. By the time we did that, we could turn the hood into heaven. The ghetto into God's kingdom and the projects would become paradise if we function like that.
Let me ask you this, though, because obviously on this platform, man, I use it as an outlet for better understanding, and I serve a purpose for not just my own understanding, but, trying to anticipate what others may think or ask, too.
Yes, sir.
You don't got no beef with nobody?
Oh, no, sir. No, sir, nobody.
But if you were to, how would you counsel? Like, we all human. We all got issues. And there's a process that goes
Right.
with transition for that person that does have an enemy. How would you counsel that person to rectify that situation?
If they don't believe that they have the intelligence, or the other party also has the intelligence, that the two of you can meet, man to man, woman to woman, and have a dialogue, then you need a mediator. Either way, whether you get a mediator that both of you all respect, or whether or not you believe y'all are mature enough to talk it out with each other.
Amongst each other.
Before you do it, you all should pray together and ask in the prayer for the Lord of the worlds to bless us to resolve this issue and not leave with any animosity, distrust in our heart, and leave as brothers. Amen. And then make the conversation be guided by that spirit. And sometimes we like to win a point and lose a person. And sometimes it's better to lose the point
And win the person.
And win the person. In a settlement, see, the minister says this to us: settle your differences. An insurance settlement. When you get an insurance settlement, you don't get everything you want. You know, you get in a car accident and, you know, you break your finger. You tell them, man, I broke my ring finger. I want $3 million. $3 million, that's worth $3 million to me. You send it to them, they send you back a counter offer $5,000. You say, what? My finger, pain and suffering. Mm-hmm. Give me 6. You started with $3 million, but you walk, that's a settlement. So, you know, the math is that in a settlement, everybody gives. Somebody gives more than what they wanted to give. Yeah. Somebody accepts less than what they wanted to give. But the value is what? The relationship is healed. So if we have enough intelligence and we really genuinely want to be each other's brothers, then you can talk it out. Mm-hmm. And if you don't feel like you can do it, then you get you a mediator. Right. And let them help you to navigate through that trauma. It's got to be somebody that both of y'all respect. Right. So I strive not to, you know, we have too many problems with ourselves to have any problems with anybody else and still be able to function like we need to function. Now, there might be people that got a problem with me, but I don't have a problem with them. Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is, Brother Cam.
How do we get to the point of there's a divide in Islam, right? There's Islam and then there's the Nation of Islam, right? Educate me with just how that created and where does that divide stand today?
Well, unfortunately, there's denominations in every faith.
Yes, sir.
You know, you have over 600 different denominations of Christianity. Mm-hmm. 600, over 600. And the word denomination, the prefix D means to divide. Nami is Latin for name, nation. So denominations divide up a nation by using different names. Mm-hmm. So the minute that you start becoming loyal to your denomination more than you are to faith itself and the God of that faith is the minute that someone has divided up a nation by the use of a name. So we have different people that may call themselves a Sunni, may call themselves a Sufi, may call themselves a Hezbollah, whatever, Shiite. But we call ourselves the Nation of Islam because that's a fulfillment of a verse that's found in the Holy Quran. Abraham is making a prayer. Him and his son Ishmael, after they rebuilt the foundations of the house, the Kaaba, he said in his prayer in the 2nd chapter, he said to the Lord, please accept our prayers and raise from our offspring a nation submissive to thee and show us our way of devotion. Well, the term submissive to thee is Islam. So a nation submissive to thee means nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. Abraham was a black man. In the book of Acts, when Abraham was talked about, it says that they thought he was an Egyptian. Egypt is not in Europe. Mm-hmm. Egypt is in Africa. The word Egypt comes from a Greek word, Ieptis, which means land of black and burnt skinned people. So if Abraham was in Egypt and they thought he was one of them, he had black burnt skin. So his seed is going to be black people. So Abraham is saying that I'm asking for you to bless my seed down the line of time to become a nation of Islam and show us this group, our way of devotion. Mm-hmm. In every era of time that a messenger is raised, there is a universal aspect of their teaching, and then there's a contemporary aspect of their teaching. And the contemporary is specific practices to deal with the condition of that people at that time. The universal is it's always good to pray. It's always good to treat other people the way you want to be treated. Those are principles. That's universal. They never change. So the Holy Quran tells us that God has raised among every nation a messenger. Right. Well, how could Egypt the children of Israel get a messenger, Moses, for slavery. Noah comes because they're fighting and killing each other. Lot is born because the people have become freaks of nature. Muhammad comes in Arabia because they had become disrespecters of women and drunkards. Think about this for a second. And here we are, we got all them conditions. At the same time with some new ones added to it. What kind of God would God be not to give us a messenger too? So we believe that God has fulfilled that obligation that he put out when he said that I am the Lord, I change if not, Malachi 3:6. I gave them messengers to help them with their conditions. I raised one for you. He's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he has his second self that operates as the messenger of God with us today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So we still believe in the same fundamental 5 pillars of Islam as any other Muslim group. We just don't adopt Arab culture. We have our own culture that came from the mind of God to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Mm-hmm. So we don't have, our pants leg rolled up with a jalabiyah. You see people walking around that say they're Muslims, they have their pants leg rolled up. Well, they did this in the East 1,400 years ago because they lived in a desert. They was trying to keep sand from getting in their pants. Ain't no sands in the city of Atlanta. No, come on now, it's streets. You don't have to do this anymore. They walk around with mishwak, chew sticks, where they used to clean it. That's what they used to brush their teeth with. We got toothbrushes now. I don't have to do that. They rode camels too, but we drive cars. So we just accept the same 5 pillars, but we don't adopt Arab culture. And unfortunately, Brother Cam, the same way that people that came to follow Jesus end up accidentally getting pulled in to paganism and white supremacy, sometimes people that wanted Muhammad and Allah end up getting accidentally pulled into Arab culture, and they accept Arab culture as part of Islam. And whenever you don't follow Arab culture, they say you're not true Muslim. No, Prophet Muhammad said that there's no superiority among the black over the white over the black, the Arab over the non-Arab, the rich over the poor over the rich. He said the best among you is the one that is most careful of their duty. So when the math is done, who has been the dutiful, hardworking, always trying to work and reform and save people? You can't say the nation has not been on the front line out there. If you ask anybody in America, close your eyes, and when I say Muslim, what do you think? In the black community, the first thing that's gonna pop up in their mind is suit and bow tie, because we've been the ones out there propagating the message and trying to save our people. So that division, the Quran promises that it was gonna happen, but he also promises that he was going to settle and remove all of the bitterness and the rancor from the hearts of the believers at a certain point.
But what do you say to those who think of when you do the exercise, close your eyes and say the word Muslim, what's the first thing you think? You think about terrorist attacks.
Yeah. Well, that's because they have been socially engineered.
Like radicals, like these.
Well, they've been socially engineered to believe that. That is the image that has been put out in the media. The brain functions on hertz, just like television, radio devices function on hertz. And the optimal level for the brain to be at hertz is 80 to 100. Average people is operating between 20 and 40 hertz. They say, though, that hypnosis, when you're hypnotized, you're operating between 8 and 10 hertz. Guess what hertz the brain is on whenever you're scrolling through social media, listening to a radio or watching television? 8 to 10 hertz. So we have been hypnotized. And when you hypnotize, your conscious mind is shut down and your subconscious mind absorbs it. It doesn't discern, it doesn't discriminate,
it
doesn't argue, it takes it like a fact. Mm-hmm. So because they have done a good job with campaigning and keeping this image out where Islam, Muslim means terrorist, then they are doing it so that they could put a fear of people ever wanting to even embrace Islam at all. So that's, don't fall for that trick. Don't allow yourself to be not talking about you, but don't allow yourself to be socially engineered don't allow yourself to be a victim of the propaganda campaign. Make a grown folk decision.
Yes, sir.
And go read it and study it and ask questions and learn for yourself. Do you know, Brother Cam, that before we were brought to America, most of us, the slaves, were Muslims before we came here?
I didn't know that.
Alex Haley was meeting with Brother Malcolm X, and he was telling him that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it, that we was Muslims. Alex Haley said, I don't believe that. So he started going to research his own roots. That's where the roots come from.
Yes, sir.
And he went to the Gambia, found the tribe, the Kente tribe, that was his family, found out, went there, they were Muslims. Then he started doing some of the research for other co-workers that he knew. Next thing you know, he mathematically computed that 6 out of 9 of the slaves brought to America were Muslims before they came here. That's why in the movie Roots, on the slave ship, when they made their first revolt, they called on Allah, and they pulled the slave trader in and took the keys and started whooping and whatnot. Whenever Kunta Kinte was here, they was forcing him to accept the name Toby. They forced swine down his mouth. They used to put the funnel in the slave's mouth, making them eat pork, because we were Muslims. So Islam has been our system of belief for many, many years, even before it was known through the Quran and Prophet Muhammad, because Islam means submission to the will of God. We've been Muslims, and all the messengers and prophets were Muslims by definition, even before the Quran or the name was known. Moses didn't want to go to Pharaoh. He told God, don't send me, I killed a man.
Yeah.
But did he go and say, let my people go?
Yes, sir.
So he submitted his will to do the will of God. That's what a Muslim is, one that submits their will to the will of God. Abraham prayed for a prophet, prayed for a son. Ishmael in the Quran, they say Isaac in the Bible, son. But Abraham was told to sacrifice his son. Abraham's will was to train his son up to be a great leader. God's will was for him to sacrifice his son. He was prepared to stick a dagger into his son. God stayed his hand. Abraham submitted his will to do the will of God. That makes him a Muslim.
Yes, sir.
Jesus said, when they started talking to him and calling him the good master, he said, why callest thou me good? There's none good but the Father. Listen, I can of my own self do nothing whatsoever I hear. That is what I speak, and what he biddeth me to do, that is what I do. It is not my will that I do, but it is his will that has sent me. Jesus was told to drink the cup of death. And when the cup of death came, scripture says, he said, pass this cup before me, meaning I don't want to. But did he sacrifice his life? He did. So he submitted his will to do the will of God. So by definition, they're Muslims. We get too caught up into rituals and practices and customs, and we miss the principles. Peel it all the way back. And the true religion of God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was riding with the minister one day, and he asked him, he said, brother, what is the true religion of God? And the minister said, Islam. He didn't say he was wrong. He said, brother, the true religion of God is to do unto others you would have them to do unto you. See, at the end of the day, our activity is what makes our faith. But by definition, if you say Christian, one that is crystallized in the oneness with God, and you say Muslim, one that submits their will entirely to the will of God, you're saying really the same thing. That's why he said a true Christian is a true Muslim, and a true Muslim is a true Christian.
That's heavy. What's the succession plan of the nation?
Well, in Islam, we don't have successors. So the minister he's going to be gone for a while at some point. However, he set up an executive Shura council, a governing body that makes decisions to help guide the nation in his absence. Right. But the fundamental foundation of the nation is freedom, justice, and equality. So most of us that have any gift, skill, or talent in the nation, I don't care how young you are. Think about me being made a minister at barely 21. Mm-hmm. You don't find that happening in no group or organization. The minister believes in whatever you can do. If you got a gift, skill, talent, put you to work. So when Jesus was leaving at the Last Supper, he sat down with all of the disciples, and he had one loaf of bread in front of him, and he broke a piece off and gave each one of them a piece of the loaf. And he told them that this represents my body and this represents my blood. What was he telling them? That I am he, the one, but you all have a piece of me. And if you want me to be back, all of y'all got to come together with the piece that you have in unity, and I'll be present back again in you. So, that's the mathematics that we operate under. We have an executive sure council that makes the decisions for the guidance of our nation. But gifts, skills, and talent, whatever you have, keep on working it. Use that piece of bread in unity with your brother and sister's piece of bread, and the loaf will be present. Mm-hmm. Most of us haven't really met the minister and had private time with the minister like that. Most people haven't. We've connected to the minister in the nation by way of his lectures. Well, he's got millions of words and tens of thousands of lectures that will still be present even if he's absent. So we still have the way we've related to him. We just got to be better students and appliers of what he taught. And the truth is, really, you don't prove that you're a good student when the teacher's in the classroom. You prove you're a good student when the teacher's not in the classroom. Mm-hmm. So when the teacher is absent, let's see how we'll do. And I think we are striving to prepare ourselves to do as we should do.
Right. How do you, the hierarchy? Like, I've met numerous people a part of the nation, but they didn't show up like this. I've met numerous people that was part of the nation that's just, the following wasn't the same. There's plenty of people that say, yo, I'm Muslim and I'm this and I'm that. How do you have the platform to be able to lead people with the respect of others to be led by you?
Well, for us, we do have a structure, of course.
Okay.
So we do have a chain of command. And you said it seems very militant. It is. It's a military structure. So we have a supreme captain that's responsible for the security of the minister, the truth, and the whole nation. You have a national MCT captain. We have assistant supremes. We have regional captains, regional ministers, regional, local. So there is a structure. But whenever it's just like anything. Whenever you're doing something, and what you're doing is what we all do. If we're all trying to redeem our people and trying to teach our people the truth, that we can help them to become what God wants them to be. If someone starts doing that, those that are doing it too are going to naturally have an affinity to that person and be like, let's support, let's show love. So, in that sense, it happens like that. Mm-hmm. So it's, I know for sure that I don't deserve any of what I've been given by, in my humble opinion, by God in the name of fame or finance or praise, post, position. I'm humbled and honored and feel unworthy of all of it. And so whatever the brothers feel in their heart that they do, that's what they do. And they know I'm striving to represent the man that saved their life, and I'm striving to do for the people that they gave their life over to save. And because of that, we move together to make sure that we okay. And if something was to happen to them, I'd be jumping out the vehicle to fight too. It is what it is. We brothers. So hope that answers it, Brother Cal.
Something that somebody else inflicted first.
Oh yeah, no, be not the aggressor. We're not the aggressor. No, we love our people even more than they hate themselves.
Yeah. Talk to me about your books, authors. I'm seeing a lot of books that you've wrote over time.
Yes,
but your
sir.
newest book, The Mathematics of the Mind, just speaks of just self-development.
Yes, sir. Well, this is, of course, the mind, the scripture, again, the wisest man in the Bible, Solomon 23:7, he said, as a man driveth, no. As a man haveth in his pocket, as a man weareth, no. As a man thinketh, so is he. So the minister said, you are what you think, eat, and even more what you think. So there's nothing more important and significant than helping the mind. If you get the mind right, you can get everything right. So that book was a product of, all of them really a product of positive peer pressure. Because I teach and do a lot of lectures, and people always want to say, will you write a book? And what happened, the first book that I wrote was Before You Say I Do. It's on mate selection and how to engage with the opposite sex and keep the emotions down so your logic and reasoning can be up. I got you too. I got some of that. No, I got some in the bag. I got some in the bag for you. I got them. I brought them.
Nah,
but let me tell you what.
Please.
So what happened is that everywhere we were being invited, whether it was a church, organization, whoever, every time we finished doing what we were there for, we always had sidebar meetings in the hotel with the organizers for relationship problems. And I'm like, man, I can't keep teaching here and then having to do all these counselings extra. So I said, what if I can put it in a book? Then I put it in the book. And then they said, well, that's fine, but I'm already married. I need something else. I said, man. So guess what else came? After You Say I Do. So now I try to operate like the old school doctors when they come and they ask me for the advice. I just say, here, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. So that's how that positive peer pressure produced it. And we're happy to see thousands and thousands of people that have been able to make a higher quality decision. Did you know that black people in America have a 75% divorce rate right now?
Why is that? Why do you think
and guess how many are married? 38% of eligible black adults are married.
Yeah, but in order to have a divorce, you got to be married.
Right, but I'm saying we only have 38% of the adults that are married, and out of the 38% that did get married, 1 out of 4 of them ain't gonna make it. No, excuse me, 3 out of 4 of them are not gonna make it.
But knowing what you know, what is the common denominator or some common denominator of what leads to divorce?
Well, it's the improper mate selection process. You know, whenever they were making a vote in Congress to determine whether or not they were going to teach slaves and let them go to colleges and universities, it was in 1867. They voted and said, are we going to allow Negroes, they're free now, they've been emancipated, will we allow them to come to colleges and universities? The ruling was, they cannot come to our schools, they have to start their own. And when they start their own schools, there's 3 sciences that can never be taught in those schools. The science of finance, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. Look at the areas that we have the most problems at right now. If we got $1.3 trillion,
Finances.
come on now, and we don't own nothing. We got dollars but we don't have no sense. We blame the white man for 95% of our problems and still spend 97% of our money with them. We the leaders in unnecessary spending, buying stuff we don't need from people that we don't like, with money that we don't have, to impress people that we don't even know.
Yeah.
And we're living way outside of our means. So our outflow is exceeding our income, and our upkeep becomes our downfall. That's our math that we've got. So finance is an issue. Warfare, we got a problem with warfare. Look at how we're killing each other.
Yeah.
And then 75% divorce rate, science of mating. That means not picking a mate right and not knowing how to stay together and then parent whatever we brought into the world called son or daughter. So those 3 sciences were never taught to us. And we have never had our own independent educational institutions to teach us. So we have to be retaught. And the root of why we are not having successful marriages is because, I know it sounds crazy, but it takes more than love to have a good relationship. You also have to have some knowledge. And we come together out of lust sometime, love sometime, but very little knowledge is involved. And because we don't have the proper criterion to choose the mate, we end up, finding ourselves into the situation of divorce.
So basically, love ain't enough.
Love is a good start to get you. You should love, The mindset that we should have when you are deciding to marry somebody, you should say, I think I can live with them. You should say, I feel like I couldn't live without them. You could, but you should say, I feel like I couldn't live without them. And whenever you have real love that is rooted not in physical, but it's on the highest level. Remember, God is love, right? That's what the Bible say. If God is love, then God is the Most High. It has to be a high level relationship. So whenever minds come together, when spirit come together, whenever character is matching, now you got someone that you can build a strong bond with. But unfortunately, we're coming together for physical reasons, and we end up sometimes being engaged in legal prostitution. We have a mate, and we pay for her and we get pleasure from her, and she uses pleasure to get something from us. That's not marriage. That's prostitution. Guess what else they found, Brother Cam? That they studied couples in 2012 and reported on the Today Show. They went around the world looking at successful couples that were happily married more than 65 years. Happily married still.
65.
More than 65 years happily married. The minister has passed all that. He's passed that.
Couples,
the 65 plus years,
together.
Happily married. Guess what they found out?
What's that?
That they all were real close and best friends with each other. So what they found is the longevity ingredient is friendship. Now, in the Holy Quran, it tells us this: look, keep your duty to God, by whom you demand one of another your rights, and to the ties of relationship. Keep your duty to your Lord, by whom you demand of each other what you want from each other. So most people think that the way that you come together and stay together is by what you do for each other. The real truth is what you do for the God. And if we seen marriage as a three-party system, the Lord of the worlds is at the top and we at the bottom of the triangle, and the way we get close to each other is not coming across the bottom, but by climbing up to the top, getting closer to God. And by getting closer to God at the same time we get close to each other, then we'd have a better equation than a 75% divorce rate. We stay together.
How many times you been married?
One time. I got married when I was 19 years old. 19 years old, and by God's grace, if we make it, and I feel like we will, as long as we're alive, the 5th of July this year, we'll be married 31 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's my best friend. That's my best friend. And I always tell people in marriage that if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Slow down now.
Yeah, you're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to enjoy this.
Slow down. You said happily married for 31. You talk about they doing a case study for 65 years. And I'm starting to say, like, what's the healthy pie and the good?
Listen to this though. Listen to this.
The buns, like, you know what I'm saying? And I ain't trying to, but I just, golly.
It's, like I said, the physical fades away, but the mental and the spiritual always is going to be there.
Okay.
So, whenever you're really not, Brother Cam, I'm not a body with a mind and soul in it. We really are a mind and soul with a body wrapped around it.
Okay.
That's what we are. So the real us is our spiritual mind and character. That's us. So that's where the relationship has longevity at. Look at this. In the Holy Quran, it says it in 4 or 5 places that God created man and woman. I created you in pairs. Now, what else did God create in pairs? Feet, legs, arms, hands, eyes, ears, right? Anytime that something has been created in pairs, if you're missing one of them, you're handicapped. You're considered disabled. What does it mean to be disabled? You have some ability, but you don't have your full ability. So if we were created in pairs, marriage doesn't just create two people in a home. It also activates power in you that's dormant that you only can see whenever you're in that bond. So once you have the pair come together, you're not disabled.
Can I ask you
You're not
this, though?
handicapped.
Can you have a bond without marriage? Can you have a connection without marriage? Could you have commitment without marriage?
You can have all of that, but you can't have it where you know for sure that God is with you. See, you don't want to go anywhere and do anything that you're not certain God is with you in when you're doing it. You want to know that everything that I do, that the Lord of the worlds is with me. Mm-hmm. It's something about standing before two families and the friends and relatives of both families and saying that I'm pledging to God in front of all of you all that I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be sincere, devoted. I'm going to be faithful through rich or poor, better or worse, in sickness and health, till death do us part. There's something about that activates divine intervention that makes it what it is. Remember, the synonyms for marriage is called holy matrimony, a sacred union, or a covenant connection. Those are the three synonyms that are used to describe marriage. Mm-hmm. All of those are spiritual terms. All of those are connected to something of Scripture and of God.
But you want to know my issue is? Because people are going off of a principle that they don't even really believe in.
You talking about when it comes to the altar?
When it comes to marriage.
Yeah.
If you're going by what the Bible says or what the Holy Quran says about marriage, and only marriage, what about what this says about doing right by yourself and people?
Right, that's what you have to do it all. So there's a verse in the Quran says that those who believe, they follow the best of what has been revealed. Mm-hmm. So you're supposed to try to follow all of that in order for you to have harmony and balance in life. The more obedient we are to the laws, statutes, and commandments and the will and way of God, the more peace of mind we have, the more harmony we have with others, the more balance we have in life, and we have life and life more abundantly. That's the mathematics. Right. So when two people come together, I'm gonna say this: there's certain characteristics that you cannot develop except in marriage. You'll never be it. That's the reason. I was wondering. I said, why come women, whenever their husband cheats, why come they show up at the woman's job and bust her windows out and fight the woman? Why didn't they do the man like that? Mm. And I said, you know what? It's because what she's saying is that I civilized this man. I made him what you liked. He only is as attractive as he is to you is because I've been working on him all these years. And now I done put in all this work to make him what he is, and you gonna reap the benefit? No, I'm taking these earrings off and putting some Vaseline on his own. So I'm saying that to say that's a crude way of saying there's certain characteristics that will never develop in a man except the institution of marriage is found. Yeah. There's certain characteristics in a woman that won't come up out of her except that institution of marriage is activated. So, again, lean not. Lean not on thy own understanding.
Yeah, look, man, I believe in marriage.
Yes, sir.
I really do.
And the other thing, too, I was going to say, I'm glad I forgot to say this. Most of the times, why you say they get on the altar, they don't even believe in what they say, we put more energy into the wedding than we do the marriage. Think about it. We read magazines, the sister eating 1 apple and 2 crackers every other day for 4 months to make sure she fit in the dress. Right. Everything, they're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on it, flipping through all kind of Pinterest, looking through magazines, coordinators, advisors, counselors. They do all that homework, reading and studying.
For a day.
For a wedding, which is only about an hour. Mm. Which one is longer? The wedding or the marriage?
Sometimes it's the wedding.
It should be the marriage, but the marriage is supposed to be for life. So if you're doing something for a lifetime, it would look like, it seem like you should study it more.
For sure.
Than you do. So we got to get back to the acquiring that knowledge.
For sure. Sometimes I feel like I've been a punching bag for relationships because it's just me to expose only what I deem to be true. I have a perfect example of what marriage is. My parents have been together for 40 years.
Wow.
You know, happily or not happily, they've been together for 40 years.
Yeah.
And every time I see them, they smiling. Mm-hmm. Every time I see them, my mother is present. Every time I see my mother, my father's present.
Yes, sir.
And there are certain things that I look at and I think being in the world has taken this thought from me to say, I respect marriage so much. And I fall victim. But I respect marriage so much. What I was exposed to being in this world is not what I know marriage to be.
Right.
And it's not just a date. It's just not a ring, because even the Bible doesn't even speak about a ring being a matriarch or patriarch of marriage. But people wear rings and girl, let me see your ring. Girl, how much money did he spend on it? And the honeymoon and those things, like it's so many earthly things or worldly things that is done a part of the marriage that has no real significance.
That's right.
Of the fortitude of the marriage.
That's right.
So I know that enough to know, what's right and what's wrong. And, it's just those things that I'm a work in progress. And like I said, I see certain figures in my life and I'm saying, man, that's dope, that's cool. And it's the commitment. They may be married, they may not be married, but it's how they ride for each other.
Yeah.
And it's a constant work in progress.
Well, this is what happens to you, the lenses you're looking happens to a lot of us. Unfortunately, some of the worst advertisement for the institution of marriage is married people. Married people don't look like they're enjoying it. Go to a restaurant and see couples. And go to the couple that's laughing and giggling and sharing appetizers with each other.
That's
and
new,
ask
man.
them, say, are y'all married? Oh, no, we're not married. If you go to the couple that's sitting there scrolling the phone, eating, not looking up, not talking, ask them, excuse me, are you all married? 27 years? So you look like it's not no joy in it. While the one that's not married looks like they're having fun. Mm-hmm. So young people are looking at that saying, man, if they look happy without commitment, why should I have commitment if I'm not going to be happy? Because look at what it's doing. And look at how we say it. They call it the old ball and chain. Yeah, but let's do this last thing. Well, come on. We're gonna do it big, boy, because after this, you're going to be locked down. We treat it like it's incarceration. But it's supposed to be facilitation of a building of a family and making of a stronger nation of people. So, marriage in Islam is considered half of our faith. And faith is not belief in your mind. Faith is the journey from sperm to becoming one with God. Half of the journey is becoming one with the mate that you have. And the other half is getting down the road to the God.
What's the process of if a person is Christian and the person is Muslim or Islam? The Holy Quran says that you can marry those who are, of course, he called them the people of the book, meaning those that believe. You can marry, but it's always better to marry someone that believes what you believe. Let me tell you why. There's a verse in the Quran that says this. It says in Surah 24, marry those among you and those who are fit. Among you meaning they believe what you believe. Fit mean that they have a personality that you like. So you want two things to be present when you marry somebody. You want them to have your faith and also be your flavor. Talk to me now.
So that sometimes you'll find somebody that's your flavor, but if they don't have your faith, it's going to be some trouble. You find somebody that got your faith and think that just because they believe that's good enough. No, they got to be your flavor too.
It's going to be a chemical imbalance.
Yeah, you want them to be both.
It's going to be bubbling.
Because what happens is what if we have two different higher authorities that we use as our resource to justify our decisions?
Okay.
And I'm telling you that my teacher said so forth and so forth. But you saying, well, hold on, Deacon Johnson said. So how are we going to ever come to an agreement whenever we have two different sources that we lean on as the highest source?
You got to have what you call
a mediator.
A mediator.
A mediator going to have two or three there, and a referee with a whistle. But it's better to do it. They call it in the scripture of the Bible. They call it being unequally yoked, and it's not egg yolk. It's like oxen being yoked together. Mm-hmm. So whenever oxen are yoked together, they have two connections. One is to each other, and the other is to whatever load that they're pulling. So if two people are together, but you both got two different things that y'all pulling, two different faiths, how's that gonna work? Right. It's gonna be kind of hard for y'all to make progress. Something's gonna hurt. Right. So that's unequally yoked. So you should always try to marry someone that has both. They got to be your faith and got to have your faith flavor. That's the best way.
So in this particular point in time of the interview, I asked the question of the day. Now the question of the day for me is to give the viewer as well as the person I'm sitting next to. It requires deep thought, something that requires more than one answer. Okay. And it's supposed to provoke thought and discussion. So if I were to ask you, if you could ask God for one superpower, what would it be?
Healing. The ability to heal.
You or others?
Heal others. My ability to heal others. That would be what I would ask, to be able to heal. And I did this question with myself without knowing it was that question before. And I asked myself that, and I said, I would love to be able to heal people. And just, you see someone born with a birth defect and be able to talk to them, put a word in their ear, touch them, and they become whole. I would like to have that. But then guess what he said in my mind? He said, you already have the gift to heal. Because again, remember, if Jesus performed, he had 2,000 statements, right? He had 1,900 statements, but he spoke on 200 subjects, and he did 41 miracles, and all of them was him giving somebody a word and they following what he taught. We know how to heal by teaching the word properly. So that would be my request if I could have it, but I have it already. I just got to get better at it so that it can work better on and with others.
I could dig that. One selfishly for me that I want to ask too, a part of the question of the day, if you could eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Bean soup. It had to be the bean soup.
The Navy bean?
Navy bean soup.
Man.
You know why it's called the Navy bean? It originally was called the small white bean. But whenever the bombs were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, mm-hmm. they noticed that there were certain small pockets in the area that were not being affected by radiation. They went to the people to find out what's going on because the Navy was still posted up in the ocean trying to regulate and govern the affairs of what they just bombed, and they're getting infected with radiation and getting cancer. So they found a group of people that were not suffering from radiation poison and getting sick. Mm-hmm. And they said, what are they doing different than everybody else? They were eating the small white bean. So guess what the Navy did? Went and got all those beans, took them on the ship and started eating them every day. And they now are called the Navy bean because the Navy took them to try to keep
Is it actually soup or is it like broth?
It's soup. It's soup. So you have the Navy bean, mm-hmm. and you have other vegetables, onions, carrots, a few other celery, a few other things in it as well. But it's a soup. And some people blend it to make it kind of pureed. Mm-hmm. Some people eat it, whole beans. I don't discriminate. I eat it however it can be there.
That's right.
So, but it is a food that is a perfect formula. The mix of, everything that you put together produces a synergism or an antagonism. So if you put certain things together, it makes them worse. Put certain things together, it makes them better. So, example, cigarettes has one aspect of a negative effect on you. Alcohol has another. But when you do them both together, you make both of you doing both together. You compound it. It makes the synergism of alcohol and tobacco mixed together, is more effective. It's destructive. So whatever Master Father Muhammad gave in this recipe with the different vegetables that's in it, you see, I don't know how to cook it. Can you tell I don't know how to cook it? I'm just telling you some vegetables. I can't name all of them. I don't know how to cook it. I tried.
Man.
I could do it. I could follow the recipe.
Yeah.
But that soup, the synergism of the navy bean with those different vegetables provides you with really a tonic.
Boy,
That's a healing tonic.
We about to figure this one out.
You gonna get you some.
No, you know what's crazy though? So like when I'm training, as I've been training hard these last couple of weeks and months, it's been something that I heard somebody speak about, right? And it was like they would call it, it's not a derogatory name, but he would call it dog food. He was like, man, when my sons, was working out, this is Amon Ross St. Brown's father, his name is John Brown, right?
Okay.
He was an Olympic bodybuilder. And he was like, growing up, he was giving some parental advice about, really parenting their child, and any great person that we've ever acknowledged as great as a child, or somebody that was gifted, the Michael Jacksons, the Serena Williams of those kind, they had a parent to tell them what to do, right? And, not faltering, from giving your children freedom to do whatever, you got to tell them what they do. As the Bible says, raise up a child in the way. Not that they already know, it's the way.
Should go. That's
correct, right? And he was like, man, I remember growing up and we was training, and I would always have my wife make dog food. And dog food ain't nothing but, beans and rice.
Okay.
And I remember asking my mama, I said, man, mama, when I was growing up, you used to make these beans and rice. And she was like, that all it was navy beans, son. And
Look at that.
And it was so crazy with some ground beef, but I don't eat meat now, so I supplement it with, plant-based.
Plant-based, yeah.
And now, my lady makes that, and it's like, bro, packed with protein and a lot of other things, more rice than it's not just necessarily soup. But now I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, food keeps us here, or it takes us away. The Elijah Muhammad said we dig our own graves with our mouth. So it's up to us. And food is either tonic or it's toxic. There's no in between. Tonic or toxic. If anything, and that's the same for the thought world.
Yeah.
We were talking off the air. I was saying that, the scientists of this world say that there's only two gates to the mind, the eyes and the ears.
You said that.
Meaning that your mind is made up of whatever you see and observe or read, or whether you hear what you hear. But there's really three gates. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said that these two systems, stomach and brain, they work together with one another. Well, what affects one affects the other. So the three gates of the mind is the eyes, the ears, and the mouth. So what we see, hear, and what we eat provides our brain with the raw material that it's going to use to build a life out of. That's how we build it. And it's thought world or food world, it's either tonic or it's toxic. Toxic meaning that it is negative, it is not good for you, it promotes sickness and disease. Tonic means it is positive and it has healing in it and promotes life. So you got to study it. You study what you eat and see whether or not is it going to give me life or is it going to cause death. And by doing so, we'll be able to have the math a little better, and I think that we will be able to do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. I know that there's a lot of people that want to eat for image, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't write how to eat to be sexy, how to eat to be swole, how to eat to be ripped. It's how to eat to live. More important than anything is living. You can still get swole, you can still get ripped with the work you do, but the diet itself is an age-reversing, disease-preventing, life and life more abundantly food system guaranteed to give you the optimal performance in everything you do.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, let's get into our game real quick. And the game is simple. It's called What Should You Do?
Okay.
Right? You are very knowledgeable on health and wellness. What regimen, fruit, vegetables, or natural medicines should someone take to remedy these scenarios?
Okay.
So,
I'll try.
the name of the game is, what would you do? You need to clear your digestive system.
Bean soup.
Bean soup.
I'm gonna say it for everything, but that is true. But you do know that
Bean soup or navy?
Navy bean
Navy
soup.
bean.
Navy bean
So
soup.
when you say
we call it bean soup because that's the only one we really use.
Yeah.
But navy bean soup is good for because it's full of fiber. What you're looking for to clean your system is that which has fiber in it. Mm-hmm. Before there was ever packaging, grocery stores, restaurants, barcodes, and labels, God already color-coded the food. You don't even have to look at and read labels or go do research. The color the food is tells you what it'll do for you. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to digestion, you want to eat something green. If you have something that you want your brain to be enhanced, yellow, that's bananas, squash. You want your immune system to be made strong, that's oranges. That's in the orange family. You need energy, that's red. You need to calm down and relax, that's the blue. That's the blueberries, the grapes, the pomegranate, the eggplant. So the food is already color-coded. Anything that you see going wrong with you, once you know that color-coding and you're feeling it, that means that I'm deficient in my blue. I'm deficient in my orange. I'm deficient in my red. And it answers it. So for digestion, I'm going to say the navy bean soup for all the conditions. Mm-hmm. But also, fiber is what cleans, that's the broom, and the green is what helps digestion.
So the next one is, you have a constant headache daily.
Yeah. Well, black people don't like drinking water. We dehydrated all the time. Mm-hmm. And you know that at the store they sell them little bitty water bottles. I call them Negro waters. Because them little bitty ones we just take little sips of water. We'll drink lemonade, we'll drink punch, we'll drink cola, but we don't drink enough water. So a lot of the headaches that we are experiencing is rooted in dehydration. So first thing that I would recommend is start hydrating yourself. Second thing I would recommend is ask yourself, what are you thinking about? Because the brain cells, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, was created to think right. So when you're thinking wrong, you're thinking opposite of the nature of your brain. Mm-hmm. It's going to let you know. Pain is a messenger. It's a messenger of God inside your body, letting you know something's going wrong. So if your head is hurting, maybe it's the thinking that you have, or maybe it's not enough drinking of the water.
Say less. You like to lose weight in your stomach, a gut area. What should you do?
Well, you can't pick and choose where fat's gonna come when you eat, and you can't pick and choose where fat's gonna leave when you work.
Yes, you can.
It's gonna go wherever it's gonna leave where it wants to leave.
No, you can go. You can decide where and how it's positioned. Do you know?
I've never seen it done before, Buckhead.
I have.
Never seen it. You've seen it done?
I've
seen people walking around with waist trainers, plastic bags on, tight whatever. And you dehydrate temporarily in that location.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go get you some water, you back to... So the fat is going to be lost. You have to lose fat. Mm. And whenever you lose fat, wherever it needs to be lost is going to go. Well, now, what happens to people? This is what happens, Brother Cam. Some people say, "Oh, I'm cool up here. I'm cool all up in here. I don't want to lose none of this. I just want to lose this gut." Mm-hmm. Yeah, but fat's everywhere. It's on your thighs. It's on your calves. It's everywhere. And in order for you to lose that gut, some of what you think you cool with is not muscle. It's muscle underneath layers of fat, and you look like you swole. You are swole, but it ain't swole with what you think you swole with. So I'm saying that to say that, don't try to pick the area that you want to lose it. Just lose it.
Man, I done seen it. Brother Nuri, I'm trying to tell you.
Send me the clip. Send me the clip of the plastic bag wearing and the waist trainer people walking around with the waist trainers on, looking like an ant. Walking around looking like an ant at the gym and take it off and go back to your original self.
They got a thing that's called a BBL.
Yeah, that's cheating, though. That's cheating.
They got Dr. Miami. They gonna go to Brazil and they gonna come back looking like a whole different person.
Yeah, but you know it's a chance you can die on the operating table to do that. So, and there's been some good people that made a bad decision for the sake of an image, and now they're not here anymore just because they wanted to renegotiate fat. Take fat from here and stick it somewhere else. But, you know, it's something about, you know, how it feels to earn something.
Yes, sir.
Versus to buy something.
Yes, sir.
Earn something versus somebody give you something.
That's a fact.
So it has an effect on your mind when you know that my stomach became flat because I was hungry and I still didn't eat. My stomach is flat because I was hungry, still didn't eat, and worked out even after I didn't eat. So you get another reward from that. You get confidence.
Yes, sir.
But if you go and get something proportion, moved, BBL, sucked out, stuck somewhere else, the only thing you can say is that I had enough money to go over there and get them to do it.
And some of them don't. They got payment plans that they done ran off on the plan.
And I've seen some that look like they was on discount ones too now. I know I'm seeing some discount ones now. There's some discounts going on. It's some $2,200. I mean, I don't know what they're paying, but whatever it is, they need to go back and get a refund.
So you see, they can't get a refund, brother.
I'm saying. I mean, so it's do it the right way.
Okay.
Do it the right way. So you asking me what I would do? I wouldn't, go to Turkey, Europe, Mexico, nowhere else, and have no sucking up my stomach and stick it somewhere.
This is the best advice or the best exercise that was bestowed and told to me for a flat stomach. No joke. And it works. And it's an at-home exercise that you can do. What was told was you can simply go into a mirror and do this exercise. Look at one shoulder, then look at the other shoulder. And keep looking at that shoulder and looking at that one. And that's what you do in front of the table. You just say, absolutely not. And it will affect your stomach by looking at both shoulders at the same time.
Yeah.
And holding true to that.
Good teaching.
That's a stay-at-home exercising that you can say that everybody can use. Moving right along.
I think that's free 99 right
That's
there.
free 99, man. That ain't no gym membership. That's you. That's self-love because you got to see yourself.
That's right.
And you just look at your shoulders.
Yeah.
In a constant. Here we go. You're feeling achy after a workout. What should you do?
Well, another thing we don't like doing, we don't like stretching. But stretching is like a form of massage. Whenever you can stretch that muscle, the longer muscle works better. So stretch. Then, of course, Epsom salt, hot bath for Epsom salt. Epsom salt pulls lactic acid out of your muscle. Why are you sore? It's lactic acid. Do you know there's a ultra runner that does not develop lactic acid?
A who?
He's an ultra runner. He does not develop lactic acid. So guess how long he can run? Forever. He runs, as long as he got some calories, he just runs. He's done and straight through a 125-mile run.
This is a real person?
A real person. His body does not develop lactic acid, so he doesn't get sore. So because he doesn't get sore by not developing lactic acid, so what do we need to do then? So what can get rid of lactic acid? That's what gets rid of soreness. Yeah. So Epsom salt extracts it. Stretching, of course, loosens it up and allows you to drink, and it goes out of your system through your blood. And so does a massage. So those would be 3 I would suggest.
You want to lower cholesterol and blood pressure. What should you do?
Well, of course, what is it that raises cholesterol and blood pressure? Primarily, it's the consumption of red meat or fatty foods. So the way that you lower it is you have to eliminate the red meat and eliminate the fatty foods until you get yourself to a balance and then know exactly what you can do to keep yourself in a balanced state. I wouldn't. They got all kind of concoctions. No, see, everybody wants to buy pill power, but nobody wants to use willpower. It's really willpower that solves these problems. So it's not so much what we add to, it's the stuff we need to take away from. Just like you said, turn your head. So we can do all the pull-ups and the push-ups and the sit-ups we want, but if we don't do no push-aways from that table and some put-downs of that fork, you won't get in shape.
How many times you work out? Do you work out?
I try. I do 6 days a week probably. I do 6 days a week.
What a typical workout look like for you?
Normally I try to do 45 minutes to an hour of cardio every day, and I mix it up. I run. I do the stairs. The Stairmaster. I like the Stairmaster because it's not impact, but it still gets my heart rate up. And I do the elliptical machine if I'm feeling sore. Right. But I normally, the Stairmaster, I do normally level 13 for an hour on the Stairmaster, and then I'll lift the little weights, stretch, and get started with the day. That's my general normal routine. Yeah.
I ain't trying to disrespect or discredit what you work out in. I ain't never seen the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Minister Farrakhan without it being a suit. Like, does he wear like regular clothes?
He wears regular clothes. He wears.
I ain't never seen him in a jumper now.
Yeah, we have casual clothes. He got sweatsuits. He got Jordans. He got the same gear everybody else got. The minister's fresh all the time.
I done seen him.
He's
like,
always
he looked
clean.
the part,
He's
but
clean. No, but so
does he own a T-shirt? Like there's some gym shorts?
But that's because the minister doesn't market himself except for he has something he's presenting of value to the people. Okay. You don't see him taking a picture, riding down the street, or just chilling, taking a picture, posting it somewhere. He's always a representative. He's always serving and working. So that's what we see of him, because that's what he's allows to be put out in the atmosphere. But the minister in his 60s, was benching 400 something.
What?
Squatting, I want to say deadlifting 400 or 500 pounds. There's a video that we have of him. He did a video on healthful living, and he was encouraging people to eat right and exercise. And on the video, he's repping 225 on the incline, and he was over 60, 225 on the incline. The minister's strong. The minister's strong. Yeah, yes. So, of course, health conditions modified that with their poisoning that they did to him with the treatment they gave him many years ago to get rid of the cancer that they seen. But the minister's super strong, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Man, yeah,
that's what's up. So for the people who probably asking this question, you have a hangover. What do you take to get rid of that? What should you do?
See, I don't know that one. I don't know what you could take to do that. I do know what you should take.
Talk to me.
Is your word serious? Because as soon as you get the hangover, that's when you start telling God, Lord, if you just let me recover from this one, I swear I'll never, ever, ever drink again. And then one Friday later,
you back at it.
So if you're gonna take anything, take your word serious.
So can you drink as a Muslim?
We don't drink any alcohol. No, sir.
That's no wine, no nothing?
No wine. Now you do know they do have non-alcoholic wine and champagne now, where you still can get the
apple cider. Cider?
No, they have different brands. There's a black brand too. I can't remember the name of it, but see. The value of the wine is not in the intoxication. It's in the word I'm trying to, it's resveratrol or something like that. But it's the curation of the grape that makes it give value to your digestion and your systems. So if you can have the proper curation of a grape and get the same health benefits from it without having to have any intoxication, then why not do that? So there's a verse in the Quran that says that the devil he likes to make mischief with created things. Everything God created, the devil tries to make mischief with it. So here it is, a grape was given to us for energy. What does he do? Crushes it, ferments it, and turns it into an intoxicating drink. Mm-hmm. So that's making mischief with a created thing. But the non-alcoholic, where they curate the grape in a way where you still get access to the benefits and nutrients without it intoxicating you, is better math.
Last but not least, for the people who really looking for change, if you're fighting temptation, how do you combat it? What should you do?
Well, this is, it depends on what the temptation is. You know, the first thing you do is you don't want to be around it. You know, that all through the scripture, you look at the Mosaic law, mm-hmm. and it's thou shalt not commit, thou shalt not do. But Jesus, look what he says. He says, I didn't come to change the law, I came to fulfill it. And I say to you that if you have thought the thought, you have committed the act. So he's trying to get us not just to regulate the hand. I want you to regulate your mind. Don't even think it. Because if you know, in order for you to do it, you got to think it.
Yeah.
A thought becomes a word then becomes an action. Action becomes a habit. Habits make character. Character dictates future. It's a cycle that takes place. Mm. But in the Holy Quran, look at what it says. It says, and go not near fornication. Don't even go near it. So that means don't put yourself in a place where you can be tempted by whatever you know you'll be tempted by. So those would be some good strategies.
But what if it's a business?
What you mean?
Like you got a monetary business that's like, you know?
That
like a restaurant.
And the food is your temptation?
No.
Or the workers?
The people consuming the food is.
Yeah, the workers, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of places around Atlanta that got some good hot wings.
Yeah, but if you stay in the kitchen, you won't be in the bedroom. Just stay in the kitchen working, keep mopping and sweeping, and you know. But the point is that, and then look at this. I'll say this too. In the Holy Quran, it advises male and female to lower their gaze whenever they look at each other.
What that mean?
Don't stare into the eyes of each other, and don't stare at the movement of the body of the female.
So where you stare at?
You don't stare. You just you make eye contact, but you don't stay looking at them. You look, you know, somewhere else, not down or up, just not at them all the time. If a male and female start looking at each other and they start smiling at each other, it's going to communicate a different kind of message. And at a certain point, it could spark something, and they might think X, Y, and Z. So by not staring in each other's eyes, it stops that. But the other side is don't look at the movement. See, once you look at the movement of the female, you start thinking about why you like the movement and what that could lead to. So your mind automatically starts traveling down the road that Jesus said don't go down.
That's right.
Because you're thinking about, you know, the activity that you could be engaged in with this particular person, with this body. So don't stare at it.
So if I'm looking at the camera, I'm just looking off to the side, or like, not the shape, help me.
Well, you just don't stare.
So you can say like, how you doing, sister? You doing all right? Okay.
Yeah. And see, that's a good strategy, Buckham. See, if you start calling each other brothers and sisters, we start doing that again, it takes away the romantic relationship context, and it puts us into family.
That is true.
See, so imagine if you was interested in a sister and you start talking to her and she said, you say, so forth, so forth, so forth, so forth. Yes, sir, how you doing, brother? Soon as she say brother, you automatically.
Friend zone.
Yeah, it calms you down. Yeah. It curbs your enthusiasm.
Yeah. See, look, I'm talking about the old me. See, nowadays, look, I don't need, you know, I'm going to go home to my girl, to my lady, and say, how you doing, sister? Can you make me some of that navy bean soup, please, sister? Yeah, I'm going to sleep over here, sister, and then you sleep over there, sister. Yeah, I'm going to practice that. See how far that get me.
Intermittent fasting, brother. Intermittent fasting.
Just pray for me. Look, hey, I do want to ask you this. What's your cheat meal? Do you have a cheat meal? Or something that you indulge in that's like not too much of it?
I would say probably my favorite non-healthy meal would be pizza.
For real?
Yeah, pizza.
Hi, just cheese pizza?
Vegetables. I eat veggie pizzas. Pizza with different vegetables on it.
But you do need cheese.
Oh, you gotta have cheese on it now. Cheese is on there.
I'll say that.
Oh yeah, cheese is on there for sure. So that would be, my cheat meal if I'm gonna have one. I try not to have one but once a month. Yeah, once a month. But the road, the challenge is, but you grinding a little harder than I am. You working out. You can get away with that. See, I'm 5'4", so I can't consume the amount of food. If I go eat with you and I eat what you eat, you're gonna be shredded and ripped, and I'm
But
gonna
I'm
be
1 meal a day though.
swollen.
I'm part of the movement, bro.
Yeah, but you still. So it's people that eat 1 meal a day that you still can gain weight because your body adjusts to it.
Yeah.
Your body will adjust to it, and the blessing of a metabolism that's slowing down is that you're living less on the inside of your body. The more meals you eat, it takes 24 hours to digest a meal. For it to go through your esophagus, through all of your intestines, colon, and then be converted into what's good or what's waste and excreted, 24 hours. So if I'm eating 3 or 4 times, I'm starting 2, 3, 4, 24-hour cycles.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm overworking my system, which means I might be speeding up my metabolism, but I'm also speeding up my time to the grave. Yeah. So the slower that the metabolism is, the insides is not living as much, so you can remain, a little younger whenever you do it like that.
And I'm shredded, brother.
Yeah, you know what you're doing.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you.
know what you do.
I ain't seen myself in this magnitude in a long time. Y'all better stay back. Temptation, push it back from the temptation.
So imagine had you went and got lipoed and
No.
I'm saying imagine had you did that.
No.
You wouldn't be
It
talking
wasn't
like
even a thought.
But you wouldn't be talking. But I'm saying people that want to go and do that, they would not be able to have that win.
Well.
And that sense of accomplishment and that victory that you've achieved by grinding it out.
Like my son say, I wouldn't even thunk it.
That's right.
I'm trying to tell you. I feel good though. And this was before implementing, intermittent fasting. But I'm gonna try that though. I need your help with it. Just overall, there's some things that I've learned by speaking to you that I'm gonna try.
Man, thank you. Me too, Buckhand. I got some good jewels and nuggets from you. I took some notes.
Hey, you did?
Yes, sir.
And I ain't a bad person.
No, you.
I want the best version of myself that's out there.
Well, this is a man that told me this one day because it was a Caucasian, older Caucasian, real weird type of person. Mm-hmm. So in a normal setting, I wouldn't have been having a conversation with him. Right. But he walked up to me, he shook my hand, and he had money in his hand when he shook my hand. And I felt like I have to listen to what he's saying. And
because of the money?
No, because he had the gesture to want to come and give a donation to help the cause. I was like, he's doing this. He came where we were. I got to entertain whatever and he dropped something on me. He said, I want you to know something. There's a lot of people that you are unaware of that are learning from you and getting a lot of strength from you. And I'm one of them. But I'm telling you, I'm concerned. I'm watching and I'm seeing the kind of schedule that you keep. And I know that you want to sacrifice for others. Look what he said. He said, but just remember this. You cannot be all things to all people if you're nothing to yourself. Mm. And I left that equation and I started studying it. So whatever we can give is based upon how much we've built up to give. So if I don't have nothing to give, what does my sacrifice really look like? Mm-hmm. So we have to be involved in that self-improvement self-improvement. The minister says self-improvement is the basis for community development. And at the end of the day, the minister said this. He said, if you really want to change people, he said, the best way to produce change in others is to lead by example. Nothing speaks louder than an example. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we like to talk to people to help them, but the better thing to do is live in front of them and let them know when they see you that if they look like you and I'm doing it, you can do it too.
Say less. As we end things here at Funky Friday, and out of respect, I just want you to know this ain't no gang sign. This is a universal sign of love, right?
Yes, sir.
So I don't want you to be thinking like, nah, I can't do. Look, we have a whole premise of just love, right? So when I say all together, we're gonna say one love. When I say all together, we're gonna say one love. When I say all together, we're gonna say
one love.
One love. We're gonna start with this camera right here, and then we're gonna go to that camera right there, and then we're gonna finish with that camera right there. For example, I'm gonna say one finger, one pinky, one thumb, and when I say all together, we're gonna say what?
One love.
Here we go. You ready? Here we go, one finger.
One love.
Oh, thank you.
I said it too early?
Yep.
All together, that's when you say.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna go here, then I'm gonna go there, then I'm gonna go there, and then when I say all together, we're gonna say one love.
Okay, all right, got it.
Make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. One finger, one pinky, one thumb, all together,
one love.
There you go. Brother Nuri.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Hope I edified your platform.
You definitely did.